Order. The time is now 9:34 a.m. I'm going to call the meeting of the Venetian Community Development District to order. Today is Wednesday, June 11th, 2025. The first item on the agenda is the call to order / roll call. Those supervisors that are present are Jill Bazarek, Cheryl Harmon-Tarana, and Cindy Sneezek and Rich Goodman. I do need to open up the meeting via Teams so that Ken can participate. But before we move forward, supervisors, we would need a motion to allow Ken to participate and vote via Teams.
I'll make that motion.
There's a motion by Jill. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Cheryl. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. On behalf of District Management is myself, Belinda Blandon. District Council Andy Cohen is present. Field Manager Keith Livermore is present. We do have Kelso, is it Valentine? Okay, Kelso Valentine with us for Vesta, as well as Julie Cortina. And for the record, there are audience members present. The next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. District Engineer Rick Schappaker is with us via Teams. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning.
The next item on the agenda is the public comment portion of the agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, as a reminder, we will limit public comments to 3 minutes per person. Our first speaker is Tim Schimberg.
Tim Schimberg, 117 Torcello. Like always, I have a question. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought that we had a policy not to allow any events that are political in nature to take place in this club. The CNN George Clooney and Good Nights and Good Luck event advertised to residents by the River Club and held in the La Salle room was unmistakably was political in nature. I'd like to know why this event was approved to take place at our club. Thank you.
You know, maybe I'll just pipe up. I have to say, I wasn't aware. All I heard that it was a Broadway thing. It was discussed in the, but I'm just telling you, that's all I heard. All I knew that it was a Broadway broadcast.
But we should know what
So,
we should know what we're having there.
yeah.
I mean, my mom told me it was coming. I should watch it. I said, Mom, no offense, I'm not watching it. I went online to look at it, and it said and it said besides the play, it became a very left-leaning thing. Unfortunately, I didn't connect the dots to the community. I knew it was not something I wanted to watch, and that's why I didn't go.
Yeah, I had no idea.
And we should-
I had no idea. I heard it
No,
I didn't know.
We should have been, I agree, it should have been.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think, you know, we can probably always do better. At the same time, what I would say is, you know, I had reacted myself positively to it because it sounded like, you know, another way to bring people in. So I would just say, I hear you. I didn't know.
And I think more importantly, for Kelso, because I actually know it's on Broadway and I thought about going and I didn't either. I didn't connect the political piece.
Well, I knew the political piece was I went online to actually,
Right, I didn't
before I
know.
told my mom I wasn't watching, I went online to look at it because I saw
Okay.
it was Clooney and I figured, and then it's talk about like
Right.
leaning.
I think we're
And
just
I
trying to
see,
bring people in and
Yeah.
We'll do better.
People walk
Yes.
out.
Yeah, no.
we'll do
Yes.
better.
Yeah.
We'll do better.
Thank you, supervisors. Our next speaker is Darlene Schimberg.
Good morning, everybody. As the chair for the social committee, I would like to compliment the River Club because we have really had pretty good attendance for it being off-season for our events here and what is going on. And I think that has to do with not only the current staff, but the effort that's being put in to bring things to the River Club that is something that people want to attend. I won't go off on what Tim said, but Joe, just for your edification, we don't allow people to have political
Oh, I
meetings
know
here.
that.
No, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
you know,
I'm
and,
well
and
aware.
that is one thing that I will say, well, it should continue, because I remember last year, we actually canceled an event that was going to be
Right.
held at the La Sala Room that was definitely a political agenda, so we just need to keep that in mind. Frankly, I didn't know what it was about either until I read the synopsis, which is Edward R. Murrow versus our famous Milwaukee Senator Joe McCarthy, so we'll just go from there. Also, I wanted to talk a little bit about, and I think I see it on the agenda, if you're going to address the affidavits that we threw out, the 8 affidavits that were thrown out, then I am not going to pursue it. Is that something is going to be discussed in the part of your agenda that is talking about the River Club affidavits?
Well, we're definitely talking about the affidavits. I don't know where the discussion's gonna go because I can't talk to anybody.
That's fine. I mean, but I just won't pursue it any further if that's what you're going.
Okay, let's see how it goes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. There being no further speakers signed in, we're gonna close out public comment and move forward with our agenda. Okay, so we're gonna move into staff reports. Rick is with us via Teams. Rick, good morning.
Before we go there, just so you know, Mary Ralph Foster can't join us, for the hurricane update. She texted me last night. She got sick. We'll do it at a future meeting.
Okay.
So, sorry about that.
Okay, good morning, everybody, and yeah, I would like to be there also, but fighting something, I don't know what it is, vertigo or whatever, so I don't think I really should be outright. But yeah, in the bid, or in the agenda, item B1 is the drainage repair bid, the tabulation. When we went out to recertify phases 5 and 7, we found a couple minor deficiencies, and then we reached out and we got the 2 bids. The A&J was the low bid at $2,050. Cross Creek, $2,550, and this is basically vegetation removal. So I would recommend we go with A and J because they were the low bid.
Okay. Do you need I'm just gonna open it up to look at the amount. Is that under 5,000? Do we need a motion on that?
No, that falls within Jill's.
Okay,
realm already.
fair enough. Okay.
Okay, good. And then the next item, B2, the pond 15 spot repairs. There was some erosion. There is some erosion on the southeast corner of pond 15. Keith and Dan went out there to look at that, and they found there was a buried pipe that just extended partway down the bank. And what we need to do is just basically take that pipe, run it all the way down into the pond. This is coming from one of the downspouts from the condo. And I reached out to Cross Creek. They can do that repair that would extend the pipe, add the backfill, and compact and resod. They could do that for $450, and they could do that when they come down to do the pond 7 bank repairs, and that's scheduled in about 2 weeks.
Hey, Rick, on the quotes that we got, do you ever go back to these guys and try to get a better price? I mean, I know they provided a quote, but can we go back and go to J that A&J excavation and ask them if they can do it, if they do it for $1,900, we'll give it to them? I mean, do we ever do that, or we just accept these things because that's what they gave us?
Personally, I don't like to beat them down because they know me, and I always request the best price. And, there are many others that like to play that game and beat them down, but, I always, they ask for the best, so I feel they give me the best. So yeah, that's one of the games that I really don't like to play, because I feel, I got the vendors that know me, and then they give me the best. Now, yes, there may be a time or two like we had when, we had somebody else to look at the side, and they come back and says, well, no, I don't want to get somebody else in the middle of that. He said, I'll just lower my price. So, there's some instances like that, but yeah, on the clearing, I think those were two very good numbers.
All right, just please.
Okay, yeah. The next item was the traffic calming, the options that's in, the agenda. It's, the item B3 under tab 1. I did reach out the, emergency response people. They prefer the cushions, which is what we have out there. However, there's many other places that now that are putting in the speed humps, and they'll accept almost anything. Speed bumps are probably the most effective, but that's the most disliked, because they are just a sudden bump. So what I wanted to do was just to give you all the three options, and then there was other literature that would help explain what each of them are. So if you're interested in any of them, we could work with the vendors to have them in.
I like.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I like the idea of speed bumps was the most effective, but the reality is they're also the most noisy for the
Right.
residents. When a
Right.
truck, especially with a landscaper with a trailer with stuff that's gonna be bouncing
Yeah.
over that, it's gonna be annoying as hell for the resident. So I think we have to be cognizant of the fact of effectiveness versus also the residents' right to some quiet.
And where are we talking about? Is this just for the front?
Well, I thought I think we had mentioned possibly a couple, in some discussions, we talked about Padova, and some other places where people are just constantly going,
And
obviously, if it's on Veneto, speed up, I don't care. But in a neighborhood, I think we have to be cognizant of people's.
so I think throughout the community, and a couple of the heavy hitters, one of them is the corner of Benito and Padova. That's constant. And then maybe a few on Pissarro.
Well, Pissarro already has.
No,
Sarah has two.
Yeah.
right, but from Savona towards
Oh,
Benito.
Got it, up there.
With the road's wide there,
Yep.
and then it narrows down, that's like a super highway. So I think throughout the community, seeing things throughout the community and watching it, my initial reaction is those intersection bumps at the stop signs, but I know that's a little bit aggressive.
Well, we have the cushions everywhere else. It kind of makes sense to stick with the same design that we have.
Yes.
Yes.
My comment was going to be about the front, because I've been thinking about the front a lot, and I think we should just put the stop signs back on the arms
Okay.
and see what happens, because I think the front is going to be, I don't understand how people can even go that fast in the front.
Me either.
Well, it's
So-
not that they're necessarily going fast coming in. It's
When
that
they
they're
get
piggyback coming in.
Well, why
So
don't we-
Paul has suggested, and through his putting up arms, that a speed bump just before, or a pad just before the arm is the most effective. Now, putting stop signs back up, double whammy probably isn't gonna hurt anything. But just before the pavers, put a speed pad in there, and then going out as well. That's where it becomes a racetrack when people are trying to leave.
So would you use the bump or the cushion? And again.
The
I'm
cushion,
thinking
just
if
like what
I'm-
we have,
if
you know,
I'm in the
throughout the
ambulance, I want
community.
it to be smooth. I said, if I'm in the ambulance, I want it to be smooth. I do not want.
Sure, I understand
I
that.
think it needs to look the same, plus, you know, the thing I worry about with those bumps is I think that they can cause some damage to the asphalt. Didn't we have that problem with the old
We
bumps
did, which
on
ones
the
that
rubber.
were permanent, the
Yeah.
ones that.
that were like screwed down?
The rubber
they
ones,
damaged
the rubber
the
ones, they were
asphalt?
Yeah, that's why we removed those and
Yes.
put,
I agree with Cheryl's idea that it should be this similar looking, so
I agree.
are,
And as Rick alluded to, I know that, emergency management prefers like what you have, because they can
Cushion,
straddle, the big ambulances can straddle them.
you
And
know,
the trucks, the
And the
fire
fire
trucks,
truck,
and the strap.
yes.
well, they're in here enough, I think we need to.
Yeah.
So what do we do next? Do we
So,
I think we should identify exactly what we should put.
yeah, I think.
want to do that today, or do we want to?
I would do that, I would have Keith go, you know, come up with a plan and look at it next time and.
Is that all right?
some-
Would you
some-
do that?
Something to, you know, this way, something to, you know, work off of, bring them out and say, I think we should have one here, and then we can vote on it,
Yes.
or then say, as opposed to
Yeah.
just trying to guess.
Yeah.
so you wanna go with the pads though?
The cushions.
The
The
cushions,
cushions.
yeah.
The cushions,
Cushions.
Same thing we have now.
and those would be asphalt, so.
Yeah.
Rick, the prices that you gave us were for the rubber ones, the screw-in ones?
No, these are for asphalt.
These are for asphalt, okay, because the examples
Yes.
in the document were all looked like they were the the screw-in
Now,
ones.
let me ask you
Okay,
something,
thank you.
Rick, if we do this with the parking lot paving, do we save money, or if we're gonna have so many done, it's not gonna make a difference?
I believe we could save money if we do it with the parking lot, so that would be my hopes, yes.
Okay, so so Keith, so the next meeting, I would say, let's get your list, we should think about our things, this way we can get it going and get
Yeah.
that thing wrapped up, so we can save some money, because the parking lot's happening on
Yeah.
July 14th.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I'll have something for you, Ben.
Yeah.
Great,
And
thank you.
I just want you all to know, I also sent this to the POA board, you know, because
Good.
there's this sort of, you know,
Mhm.
confluence of these types of calming issues. So I just wanted you to know, I did send that to the POA board.
Yeah, I talked to Barbara the other day. I was
Okay,
unable to
okay.
attend the resident meeting because another meeting of mine ran over.
Okay.
So I did talk to her about that a little bit as well.
Cool,
Okay, cool.
all right.
Okay, so
Thank you for that,
I'll work
Rick.
with Keith on that then.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, on the SWIFT recertifications we had done for phases 5 and 7, SWIFT did come back and they've approved the recertification. And when I was reading the approval, it sets the next inspection due date. And for phase 5, they only pushed it out 2. For phase 7, they pushed it out for 5 years. So I am gonna call them because I had the understanding that we were grandfathered in on all existing permits. We were on the 5-year cycle. They did come out with a new standard or criteria that says any new permits that have a littoral shelf will be on a 2-year recertification. So, you know, that could be pretty big for us because I think we have like 10 or 12 permits with them. So I just wanted to mention that. The signage will repair, they have a couple of street panels still to replace, and those should be installed within the next 2 weeks. Keith pointed out to me on June 4th, there was a depression next to one of the inlets at 194 Montaluna. And what that is it's common, when they're doing the installation of the storm, the inlets, they manufacture these inlets with the knockouts for roadway, the under drains, because they don't know which roads are gonna have the under drains, so they've got the styrofoam, the knockouts. If it's not gonna get the under drain, they're supposed to seal up the holes. Now, sometimes sealing the holes is, they put a little stub of the pipe, and then they put, the cap on at the end. Sometimes they try to pack in the hole, but sometimes they put probably a real thin skim coat of the concrete over that, and then over time, those tend to fail. And so they went down to look, and they did see that there was one of the knockouts in that. So we had the contractor out there the next day to fix that. And for this community, I think we had two of these. In other communities, we get a number of. So, for that kind of a thing, my recommendation is just to fix it as they come up.
Sounds good.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay. And then I guess in there, in the agenda was a rate adjustment. I have kind of kept my rate the same for the entire time I've been with the community.
Yeah.
And that's been 16 years. And, I just kept trying, but the insurance is probably the worst. And it just keeps going up and up and up. So I requested an adjustment there.
So a whole $1 a year, huh, Rick?
I'm sorry?
So a whole $1 a year raise, okay.
I'll make the motion to accept Rick's request for a rate
I
change.
second that,
Second by Cindy.
yes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, Rick.
That
Appreciate
rate
it.
that requesting is still $30 per hour less than what I get for other work, so.
Yeah.
So the community's been very good to me, so I'll do my best to. And that's all I had.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay, Rick, do me a favor, can you please stay on the phone, because we're gonna be talking about the geothermal. I know I sent you some information, I know you don't have a lot of history, but you may have some insight that you can help us with as we have this discussion, so it's okay if you hang in?
So do you want to move 6K
Yeah,
up then? Because I see David is here in the
Yeah, I've
back.
spoken to
Okay,
Belinda
okay,
about
great.
that,
Is
so
that all
yeah.
right, Belinda?
Yes.
It relates, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I want to move up on the geothermal issue. As you know, we approved the quote to do the geothermal.
Yes.
After doing all the work and doing the pump and everything else, the well's not deep enough. We now have to start all over and dig a new well, supposedly for $40,000 or something like that. So we have Tim, Dave, and the people from the well company.
So that contract I prepared, they weren't able to do that work.
Well, they did the work, but it didn't work.
Still,
It didn't work.
It
It
didn't
didn't
work.
fix the problem.
I got it.
And so we have an issue with, because our contract with Dave says it's, the well's deep enough, but now it's not deep enough, so we've got a big issue.
Didn't we have an estimate to make the well deeper?
Well, remember I said that everything was so confusing from the well company that we couldn't get a straight answer? We were gonna go to Dave because we couldn't figure it out. We wanted to make sure that we had somebody to blame.
Okay.
Somebody to run this, who understands it better than us, because I didn't feel comfortable, and nobody on facilities felt comfortable trying to
When
get
Mike
to the bottom
Krejci
of it.
left, we lost our only.
Yeah, so we were all so uncomfortable with the situation, that's why we said, Dave, you do it. And we did not want to get involved, so Dave, you wanna take the,
All right.
Hello.
Take it away, Dave.
I brought the well guy here today to explain this a little better to you guys, so it's not the fact that the well's not deep enough, it's the supply, but I'll let him explain.
Hi, my name's Jeff with JML. We've been running into the problem on your property for about 3 years with the water table dropping in the upper wells. Right now, you guys are in the upper Hawthorne in the well. The mid Hawthorne is where we're suggesting to drill these wells to. Right now, the well depth on your wells are about 90 feet. With all the development and things that you got going around here, not only you guys, but a lot of people in this area are having well issues and getting the water that they used to get. We're suggesting to go down to 300 feet, and the total depth will be around 400 feet of these wells. These wells will turn into most likely artesian wells that'll free flow water. I'm sure you all are familiar with artesian wells. The efficiency of your heating system has been down for 3 years, roughly, and we've been talking and trying to get this resolved for a long time. And now it's at a point where it has to be repaired before you guys get into your heating season and have this issue again, because our winters have been so dry. When you go down to this lower level, you guys are gonna eliminate this issue for probably permanently, would be my guess. If the upper aquifer is really been struggling with the slow amount of rain that we've had. Now, when I got here this morning, I went out and tested again from when we were here a week ago or a week and a half ago. And the well pump is set at about 75 feet roughly, about close to 80 where the intake of the pump is. The actual depth of the well is 90. We dropped it down another 20 feet from where it was. With the well pump off, you were at about 6 to 8 feet of static, which means if you're standing on the ground, the level in that casing is 6 to 8 feet below ground. When this pump starts, it's drawn it all the way down to 75 feet in roughly about 2 minutes or less.
Oh my
And the
God.
pump is cavitating.
Yep.
And cavitating means it's pulling and then blowing air, pulling and blowing air, which in turn will ruin this brand new pump we just put in there. So that's why we shut it off and told David that it needs to be addressed, and we cannot run this brand new pump and ruin this brand new pump. And that's the reason that we shut the system down, so the heating and the cooling part is not working.
The thing, and like I said, when we talking about this, my biggest concern is I don't understand all this, so was there no way of knowing before we spend $12,000 or whatever it is to do the work that we did, that the well wasn't deep enough to begin with?
The well is deep enough. Like I said, the water level is at 6 feet. But when this pump starts up, this pump pumps 160 gallons a minute, and it's pulling that water all the way down to 80 feet. The aquifer is not giving it the water that it did originally when we did this job.
And there was
14 years ago.
no way of knowing that when we did that.
No, because the pump that was in there was not working correctly.
Okay, so if we do this additional work, is the pump everything you just did?
It's fine. It'll be pulled out. That well will be cemented. The other well will be cemented, and that pump will be stuck in the new well.
So this well goes from 90 feet to like 400 is what you said?
The new wells will be at a 400-foot depth.
Is there any opportunity in the middle, or is that where
No,
we have to go?
That's where the next aquifer is.
Okay.
So the work that we did, but with the new pump was really not wasted money. It was, so there's
It
not,
was.
because I'm very confused by all this.
It's not wasted money. It's the labor of pulling it out, putting the new pump back in, dropping it lower, testing it, and seeing what's going on.
But the money we paid Dave or contracted with Dave, most of that was for the actual pump itself, so we're gonna be able to reuse that. So we're not,
Correct. Yes,
so it's
sir.
not like we've lost that money. It's,
Correct. Yes, sir.
okay,
Yes,
I
sir.
feel better about that.
Well, it was a waste of money. It's the only way that we could tell, and trying to drop down another 20 feet to see if that drawdown of the water, it was gonna be sufficient. I was hoping with the rain that we had, it would be working better than it is, but it's not working it really a little better than it was a week and a half ago, but not much.
I'm gonna add something to this. So he has a whole bigger geothermal at the end that doesn't even run right now because there's not enough water supply to all of that. Actually, how long has it not been running for?
It's been over a year, and we've
my.
been trying to get you guys to understand that this has been an issue that's been ongoing.
Who have you been
That
talking to?
has to been
Who have
addressed.
they been?
We've been talking to different managers that have been here over the period of time. I'm the owner of my company.
Go ahead,
Ask
go ahead.
where it is. Is this between one of the tennis courts and the condo? Is that where that is?
There's 2 wells over there. There's one kind of right next to the shack where they keep all the equipment for it.
Okay,
And then there's one almost kind of right between the tennis courts and the condos,
okay.
right there. There's one right in between that, so.
So, lack of knowledge here, so I'm just qualifying that, making that statement.
Tell me about it.
So, we're talking about going into this other well, and is that well completely independent and exclusive from the well where the current pump is at? Or is it some level, all that water at some base level together? And the reason I'm asking that question is because the city put in a new pump. We've got more construction
You
happening
mean the
here.
water boost?
The water booster. We've got more construction in the area with more homes going in. Is this mutually exclusive from every other well where water is being tapped from? And is it ours?
You actually have 2 wells.
Okay,
We pull out of one well, we run it through the system, and we dump back into another well. It's called a closed loop system.
okay, got it. Mhm.
You are
Okay.
not allowed to use that water to do anything else with, other than pull heat out for your geothermal system.
Okay, so there is no opportunity for anybody to have access to that. And
Right.
so we are just, it's independent. Thank you.
Exactly.
Okay, I know. It's
And
right.
they might not even let people go to the depth that we're going to for a residential type setup.
Okay,
They let us do it because it's not being used. Basically, it's going right back into the ground.
Okay.
Once it runs through the system.
it just cycles through.
Correct.
So I thought we at some point had asked that this well was gonna be deep enough. You tell me
Right.
there's no way that we could have possibly known it was deep enough or not before we started? I mean.
The existing
well, I'm just confused. I mean, it's,
We did.
yeah, because the contract says it was deep enough, so I'm just concerned, confused how we got to that point. And
Originally it worked, when we drilled these wells 14 years
no, I'm
ago.
talking about what Dave gave us, so I don't know.
Well, but didn't we need a new pump?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what started this.
That's what started
Right.
this, so I think the
Yeah,
new
Yeah, but
pump.
with,
was
Yeah.
it also said
discovery.
that the well was deep enough.
But with the old pump, it wasn't working right.
Yeah, but we thought it was just a pump. We thought the well was fine, but we thought not a pump issue. So I'm just trying to understand here because I'm confused.
There's no way to pump the water and tell the volume until we put a new pump in.
So there's no way of checking, there's no way of checking. to
Exactly,
say
that's what
You
you
gotta
said.
get
It's
it
like
in
the
there.
process of elimination. Let's see
Right.
if it's the pump, we
Deep
put
enough,
pump in.
deep enough,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
That
Correct.
makes sense,
Doesn't-
from my vast knowledge of wells.
So what are our next steps?
Where's the new, so you're digging a whole new well? Or you're
Correct.
digging,
They
so where is that
put
gonna
it
be?
in the same locations.
Same locations, okay.
They'll fill the other ones with cement and drill the new ones right beside them.
Okay.
And that will eliminate a lot of labor of rerun of power and the pipes that I run into them now.
How long does it take to drill a 400-foot?
Usually 2 days or a day and a
I'm
half.
thinking about the people in the car.
Does it have any impact to the people around it? Is there any, like?
They're gonna work during the day.
Okay.
It's not something they're gonna work on 24 hours.
Okay,
Supervisors, I did have a question for Rick. Rick, given that they're gonna be drilling to the mid-Hawthorne, is this in any way tied to our water use permit? And do any permit modifications need to be made?
That'll all be done by the well drillers.
Correct, yeah, our existing existing two wells that we have. One is 600 feet, the other one's 660. So I don't think they're in this same aquifer, so it shouldn't not be any issues.
And you guys just have a permit for the discharge well. The supply well's really not permitted.
Okay,
The discharge well's permitted through DEP and South Florida Water.
I'm just, I gotta do my job here. Your contract says pump to be installed approximately 200 feet deep, 60 feet deeper than the current setup. So, I'm just confused. So that's what it says on that's what we agreed to when you bid. So,
Right.
I just don't know. So if we're not at 200 feet now, I mean, I just, yeah, I feel bad for you, Dave, but I'm just looking with what we agreed to, and I don't get it. I'm still lost. How this to where we are today, so.
Well, so I took this on as knowing that I was gonna sub him out. And I basically, to be honest, I copied his contract.
So you copied his, but, so
Yeah.
does his contract say that on yours?
Yeah.
Then we should be at 200 feet.
The well's not 200 feet.
Then,
If the well was 200 feet, would we still have this problem?
The well will not work at 200 feet. The end of the casing has to be embedded in the rock.
The next aquifer?
In the
Yes.
rock in the
Yeah.
aquifer.
Yeah.
And that's where that aquifer is.
So
To
in
go,
the,
to go to 200 feet, you would be in clay again, which in turn would not work.
so when we did the original contract that we thought was to go to 200 feet, which wasn't, was there an additional charge to dig that well to 200 feet
what
in
did
that contract?
No, there's no contract for the 200 feet. It's just.
It just was wording that was incorrect in that.
Correct,
Okay,
exactly.
so
Okay.
that's
We
fine.
lowered the pump as low as we could possibly lower.
Got it.
And your point is that 400 feet is within where we have to go.
400 feet is where the depth of the new well is gonna be. The casing will be set at 300, the well will be drilled beyond the casing to 400.
Okay,
Now, do you know why I
Sounds good.
didn't want to take this on ourselves?
yeah, but it does make sense to me, and the process of elimination makes sense that you had to put the first pump in there to figure out if it could work.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Problem is, my own problem is, that's not what we agreed to, so I would
But
like
it
to
was
know, I would like to know all this upfront.
Mistakes happen.
You're an
Yeah.
expert now.
Yeah.
We know what it is. And
Yeah.
so what is the cost of this? Do we have a,
Do we have any proposals?
do we have a proposal for
We have a
this?
proposal on the,
I haven't,
seen
I
haven't seen it either.
I sent it out to Tim initially, but I
Okay.
guess it hasn't made it past Tim yet. So I can send it today.
Okay, and we can put it on the agenda for the next.
We'll
I
put it
guess, yeah.
So the only drawback that we have right now, which is
You're not cooling,
we're not cooling.
correct.
Okay, so I think Julie, we need to at least communicate, or Kelso, my apologies.
Do you want to look at it today and add it to the agenda to get started on the well so we can start cooling? Or since the contract is available, it just hasn't made it to us yet, we would have to open for public comment.
Right.
Okay,
But then
I'm
it's
just
got-
asking,
But
because
then
I
it's
don't
gotta do a,
swim.
and it's gotta do a contract. and
Yeah,
all that
that's-
stuff, so.
okay,
Well, but at least we could
Yeah, but
say
we would
subject
approve
to
it.
preparation of contract. And
yes.
was Ken
That
trying
way
to
we
say
don't
something?
delay.
How much is it, do we know?
How much is it?
And the other option, or the other issue is the well driller's schedule with the issues they're having with water. That you guys, please don't wait a
Don't
long time to make a
Right.
decision.
That's why I was
Because-
Yeah, that's a
thinking,
good
let's
idea,
get it
Cheryl.
approved here. so
Because
we
right
don't
now,
screw it up.
sorry to interrupt, right now, they're a month out
Okay,
to get you on a schedule.
so Andy, can I open this up for discussion and then public comment? Can we do that?
Well, I want to see the proposal.
I want to know how much it is.
Yeah, I think David's getting it.
Pulling it up right now.
Well, can we put?
48.3.
We already have it on the
What is it?
agenda.
48.3.
Oh, that's right.
48,300.
So
There we
if
go.
the board wanted to take some action today, I think that you could. We already have an agenda item on discussion regarding geothermal pump and well issue.
Okay,
Okay, and then,
But I haven't seen the contract. I mean,
No, I would prepare a contract
Yeah,
of my own.
Andy
Well, I mean, I haven't seen the, I haven't
Right,
seen the
yeah.
proposal. I mean, it's a number.
but you can still do that after, we're just approving the work to be done.
yes.
And then you would still approve the contract, send it to Andy, Andy would put the legal terminology on it.
right,
Mhm.
I mean, if you wanted, we could do a motion to approve not to exceed, what, they just say 48, not to exceed $50,000 or something.
Okay,
For
yeah.
drilling of the well,
That works.
well, subject to preparation of contract, or something along those lines, if that's an interest that you have.
and,
Or we can wait for the proposal and put it on the next agenda.
Here's my concern, yes, I think we have to move, and the reason we have to move is because these pools are heating up every day. I was in there on Monday and it was uncomfortable to the point where I nearly passed out. So I think, we could end up having, if we don't move on
other
it,
issues.
we could have other issues, yes. Mhm.
Okay.
And I'm not doing that for a selfish reason, I'm just saying we need to get fixed.
We don't want you to pass out either.
We can't put some ice cubes in there?
Just a little chip in there.
And so.
Question for Jeff?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes,
Yeah,
Go ahead,
go
Ken.
ahead, David.
Okay. So will we be able to reuse the existing pumps?
Yes,
Okay, and in your opinion, are they in reasonably good condition?
they're 14 years old,
Except the new one that was
except
just,
for the new one.
yeah.
Then there's 2 pumps?
The well pump is brand new. The heat pumps, the pool heaters themselves are 14 years old. There's 7 of them. You actually have 8, but the 8th one is a newer one, a larger 9-ton unit.
We also
Just looking at the money that we have in reserves, or the combination of pumps and heaters.
Yeah, because we have information, I have information on some of the heaters too.
I guess I'm confused over the number of pumps.
There's only one well pump, but the heaters are basically called heat pumps.
Yeah, the
And
heaters,
there's 8 of them.
Yes.
yeah, but we've got a quote for like,
Okay.
yeah, we've got some that need to be replaced immediately, some that need before winter, some, we have things that are leaking, we have pipe.
That has to do with, that has nothing to do with geothermal.
Oh, no,
No.
these are not geothermal.
No,
Oh,
that's-
so you're the pumps on this quote, not the geothermal?
Correct.
Got
get a D- in pool care.
it. I'm trying.
Jeez, Rich.
The pool, like I said, the geothermals, 7 of them are 14 years old.
And their
They are all
typical
still
lifespan?
working.
What would you expect in terms of a lifespan of something like
They're
that?
there.
They're there?
But, we keep them in stock
Okay,
and we manufacture and build our own and go through ETL, UL listing, so if you lose one, we can replace it within a couple days.
okay.
So
Yeah,
it's
because-
nothing that you have to worry about.
Okay.
The Fitness and Pool Advisory Committee talked about doing when they were talking about these pumps, they were talking about like a rotation of replacing them every X number of years. So there wasn't like a catastrophic failure of all of them. This was in when Miles was still here and it never really got off the ground. But if you're saying that we can do as they fail, replace, okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
But we have them phased in over 3 years.
Okay,
Oh, is that
So
what,
2 a year.
okay,
2.5 a year,
2.5 years, yeah.
Get your saw.
you know. So do we need, at this point, do we need a motion or what are we doing?
Depending upon what the board would like to do, but if you want to proceed, we would need a motion.
I will make the motion to, pending the contract not to exceed $50,000, that we move forward with this.
I second.
And who do we want to authorize to execute? Rich?
Holy Rich?
I don't want this one.
Chair?
I'll do it.
Okay, so So let me see if I can just frame the motion. It would be a motion to authorize expenditure of not to exceed $50,000 for new well work and authorize the chair to execute a contract subject to staff approval. Is that your motion? Cindy?
That's my motion, sir.
That's what I heard. And I
Second.
seconded it too, yes.
Second by Cheryl. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
And then whoever has that proposal, if it can make its way to me.
Yep.
Hang on. Ken, are you in favor?
Yes,
Okay,
I said aye.
sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
No problem, thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you, Dave.
Thank you for your time. Have a good
Thank
day.
you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate the information.
No problem.
Okay.
Do we need Rick for anything else?
No.
Oh, I don't think so. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
You're better.
Hey,
Thank you, Rick.
thanks, everybody. Okay.
Take care, Rick.
Andy, do you have anything to report?
So I have just a few updates and then we can have whatever discussion we'd like to have on the residency affidavit. Just an update on the liquor license issue. I emailed the board, but we closed the loop on that. I did speak with DVPR. They said they would not pursue anything further. Working with the chair, we put together the attorney's fees that were involved, which was $3,742.05. Invoice was sent to Vesta. I know they had agreed to pay it. I don't know whether the money's actually come in yet or not, but it should be in the works. Since the last meeting, we did prepare the pressure washing contract. We talked about the geothermal. I've been working with Rich and we have the painting contract completed and executed. We did not proceed forward with the flooring contract I prepared, but you have a new one further down your agenda today. And then Cheryl just sent me a revised proposal just this morning for Juniper. I think we're ready there, so I'll prepare that contract for that project to move forward. With that, we can talk about the residency affidavit if you'd like, and any other questions that board members have. On the affidavit side, I can start. Obviously, I was not at the last meeting that Dan was, but I did confer with Dan. I spoke with the chair, spoke with Cindy, also reviewed the audio clip with regards to your discussion. What I've done so far, whether it's right or wrong, is I took the affidavit that you had, that we had prepared previously, and I added the information to it that was from, and this hasn't gone anywhere yet, okay? But I added the information to it that was from Jill's form with regards to providing driver's license, property deed, things along those lines. I made some other tweaks to the form in terms of adding under penalties of perjury language. I also added a signature block and notary for the property owner. I heard that was something else that the board wanted to have included. Had conversations with Jill, had a conversation with Cindy. She did send me the 2 CDDs from our office that you had been referencing before, which by the way were Cypress Creek and Meadow Point 2. I had a conversation with their on-site management in both of those facilities, and they do look for that information that's quoted, and if it is not provided, they do not issue credentials. So with all of that as background, I'm glad to try and continue our discussion, or not sure where we want to go from here. I can distribute to everybody, which I haven't yet. Like I said, that revised form that I prepared, in talking with the chair, decided not to do that quite yet until we heard further from what everybody had to say. So that's where we're at. Silence.
Well, I think the biggest thing we need to do is get our definitions
Yes.
comparable to those other 2 clubs, tighten them up, use what they use. I mean, it's a system that they're working with. We're sitting here trying to reinvent the wheel. Rather than reinvent the wheel, let's just use what other people are presently using, which is tighter and stricter, or at least more complete than what we have. And rather than sitting here, this word, that word, whatever, they have a system, it's working, we should just, I would just go.
I mean, I don't know if it's working or not working, and I don't know what working is. And another thing I explained to some of the board members that I've talked this through with is that, I have not, as in Venetian, I've been here from day one, but I've not been to day one from Meadow Point to or Cypress Creek, nor do I necessarily get involved in the nuts and bolts of what they've done. So some of their procedures could have been drafted by prior council or management, things along those lines, so. And I have many CDDs, and there's probably some other policies out there, absolutely.
So I agree, Rich. I think, I like the idea of saying, let's take the best information from those two communities and implement them into what we have into our structure. And then address the 8 affidavits or whatever we have and see how we want to.
So we're like, right now, here at Venetian, we have a system that we've talked about before, we've talked about many times, where we have a affidavit. Not all communities use an affidavit.
Right. Which I think we should, if we're gonna mirror image those other communities, they don't use affidavits. So
They don't.
I think
Yeah,
we
agree.
should follow that
I
policy
agree.
and then we're kind of all in line with that. And we at least have something to fall back on and say, we're just doing what is, consistent throughout other communities as well.
Would that policy be what we discussed? I'm trying to keep up because I'm not as close to it. Would be what we discussed last time, which was you have to have these elements.
Yes.
You have to,
Yes.
I mean,
Yes,
so I think it's hard to have the discussion without seeing the revised
Yes.
form.
agree.
I mean, and that's sort of what I'm asking. Right now, we have, what I've prepared is in keeping with our affidavit system,
Mhm.
but I've beefed up the affidavit to add those elements that, I heard you discussing before. In other words, it says, in order to verify residency at the above referenced property address, the applicant has provided the following. Check 1, driver's license / government issued ID card, property deed, utility bill, bank statement, or similar documentation, described document. And then the last is lease agreement if lessee with expiration date. Then I've got signature by the property owner and the applicant. Now, if we want to continue down this line, I'm glad to send it to everybody, but I've sent it to you anyway, of course. But I'm hearing that you might want to get away from the affidavit.
Yes.
Yeah.
I never liked it in the first place.
Affidavit.
Well, at least some of us do. I don't know. if
Yeah.
100% of us
I
do.
was never comfortable with it in the first place. I mean,
I think the affidavit's a problem.
the chances of somebody not being able to come up with something reasonable is pretty remote, and then we could always look at that as a one-off basis or something, but.
So you're essentially saying what you just read would just be part of a checklist then as we're doing the issuance of RFIDs and that kind of thing.
That's what I hear you saying,
Yes.
is that instead of an affidavit, is that you come in and say, you're a brand new resident, whatever, brand new person to this process. You come in and you say, I want my card. You say, well, you gotta show us either a driver's license or a property deed. Let's leave it at that right now.
Right.
And if
Yeah.
you don't have them, well, then we're not giving you a card. There's no affidavit choice.
I think that's the way we should go.
And maybe we can, see the closest one, maybe if you call up Meadowbrook and spoke to their.
Sure, I certainly can.
And
And it'll point to Justin Wright, I spoke with him.
And that's, okay, now if the
Okay,
person,
great.
okay, now what happens if a person doesn't have,
I already asked him, he said they don't give them.
there is, so if.
I
So
spoke-
this is their guidelines.
My conversation
So
with Bill,
Okay,
he said, why don't
fine,
you
then
give them a
I'll-
call? And so I did. I spoke with
Yes.
Justin Wright at Meadow Point too. He said, we don't give it to him. I spoke with, Brian Young at Cypress Creek, and he said the same thing.
Andy,
Yes,
I don't have that with me, but many moons ago, you gave us comparative language when we were talking about residency, definition of residency. And I don't know if it was from those same clubs.
it
Well,
wasn't, I don't think so.
My recollection was it was no more, just as ambiguous as ours.
That's what I remember. And so that's why I asked the question, because I'm struggling a bit. When we looked at this originally, everything was ambiguous, which
It
is why
is.
we came up with the affidavit. And so that's why I'm
Nothing has changed in that regard. I mean, but, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, please.
But again, you guys are having your discussion, you know, my recollection is exactly, I think we're all on the same page. There are other definitions out there. There can be some questioning about it, but in the past, I'm not saying we can't change it, we came up with a system and said, if you don't have these things, we're gonna allow you to do an affidavit. Now I hear you saying that we wanna remove that and just say, if you don't have these things, you don't get your card.
Right.
And there are other communities, I'll call that Plan B. There are other communities
Right.
that do Plan B. I've spoken with the people on the ground that I know,
Right.
and they've confirmed that that is what they do.
Okay. I personally think we need a very clear process because we're not doing it. You know, we've got
Right.
people on staff who I think need, you know, a clear line of things. And once we go into something like an affidavit, if you give somebody the option, I think it puts, I think that's where the problem gets created.
And I agree.
And maybe you call this to other CDDs that have
Yes.
amenities, just randomly, and ask them what they do, so we have a consensus. Because maybe that could be very strict, maybe we're possibly missing something on the other side, but
Well, I will tell
I
you this.
was never comfortable with the affidavit side.
What I read through Cypress Point and what I read through Meadow Point 2, or Cypress Creek, I'm sorry, and Meadow Point 2, I like the way Meadow Point 2, and obviously y'all haven't seen it, I've only shared it with Andy. I like the way Meadow Point 2 outlined their descriptions in the rules and regulations. So it was outlined in the rules and regulations. Now, the only thing that I would like to do is maybe follow up with Meadow Point 2 and say, all right, now how do you implement your operating procedure? How do you execute this plan, right? So you've got these rules and regulations in place and they're great. The words on paper are great. Now, how do you make it actionable? That would be the conversation that I would like to have with them.
I'm glad to connect you, no problem.
Okay.
I will tell you, they have a full complement of on-site staff.
Okay,
I mean, they have a fully staffed office, probably 6 people in there
Oh
or
my.
something like that.
So, and Andy, can you share the Cypress Creek and the Meadow Point 2 with the rest of the board? And then you guys can kind of see it for yourself and see how you feel about
We
those.
can just go Google it and look at their
Yes, you
stuff,
absolutely
right?
can, because that's what I did. I went
You
to
can check.
Meadow Point
You
2
can
CDD.
check, I mean, there's
Yeah.
multiple CDDs
It's
that represent Greyhawk Landing. I mean, I could provide you as much or as little as you want.
A comment to it. You can-
Yeah, I guess I could send it to him.
that's enough
So
way.
my recommendation would be that, we kill the affidavit and we go with the verbiage with Meadow Point 2 after I have a chance to
Yes,
talk
we
about
need to
how
do
they
that
make that piece actionable. And then Keith, we can modify the SOP.
If
Make
we're
it
gonna
work.
change the rules, depending upon where this goes, we may need
So I
another
have to have another
hearing,
hearing.
just
Okay,
so everybody knows that.
All
And
right.
that's not the end of the
And if-
world, it just involves some time and advertising.
Well,
okay.
I imagine if that results in some affidavits no longer being valid because we don't accept affidavits anymore, we're also gonna have to deal with that piece.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just sort of being
Absolutely.
clear.
absolutely.
Really clear.
Because there would then be a process for, if we've already said we've accepted
Right.
the
We're not
affidavit, now we
changing it.
have another
Right.
Correct.
process.
We've got to
So-
follow up with them.
And so on that, I don't want to dump more work on you, but it seems like you may be the one you or Ken, who understands why the affidavits, maybe with Keith, were required to start with. So maybe when you talk about it,
Mhm.
you can see, were there any affidavits that we accepted that would not be covered in the Four Corners
Okay,
for some reason,
Exactly.
okay.
um,
Ken, are you okay with me doing that piece?
Yes, I appreciate it.
Okay,
yes, I appreciate it too.
okay. I will take that on.
So on my end, I will get you the contact information.
Great, thank
No
you.
problem there. And I will just sort of wait and see what the next step is, knowing that potentially the road we're going down is making some changes to our rules that would involve the rulemaking process. Does that sound like the direction we are moving in?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
And I will say, I think I've said it already, but I will not be present at your June 23rd
Yes.
meeting. But if there's anything that needs to happen, Dan will be covering. So
Okay.
Cool, thank you.
with that, I'm glad to answer any questions.
I'm good.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Moving forward, we now have item number 5D, which is the appointment of the new general manager for the River Club. Julie, did you want to speak, or did you want me to just ask the board to move forward? Okay.
Oh, good.
Speak.
I'll just keep this short and simple, as my official 6th day. I'm just working in getting to know the staff, operational competencies, and trying to move the pieces around to better, thank you. Moving pieces around to best put people in the position to be successful. And keeping, looking over contracts and proposals, prioritizing projects, really just kind of absorbing everything as the first week is completed as of today. So really it's going to take me a little bit of time to kind of absorb the CDD process and just get to know everybody individually. I'll be setting up appointments to, meet with individual board members just to better understand, what our focuses are and how to prioritize those with the staff.
Sounds good.
Okay.
And I also think at some point, shortly after we all meet, whatever, I don't know, we've got a busy agenda, we should all meet maybe in a workshop with Kelso. So Kelso's not getting 5 separate directions from 5 separate board members in 5 separate meetings. This way we can all agree on what we all expect, as opposed to me thinking something different than Jill or Cindy, and Kelso sitting there going, what do I do now?
Well, I might even guess that Kelso, it might end up being the reverse, just from my conversations with Kelso about things like budget and everything else. So whichever way we play, I think it's a good idea to
And that's
have
fine too.
a campfire meeting.
I think we should all do that, so everybody's on the same page, and
Yeah.
let you go do your job.
I do agree, but it's going to, I think more appropriately, it's going to be next month's meeting before we come up with a true agenda as far as what I'm going to accomplish in a time, So, yeah. Really, I think part of the priority right now is preventive maintenance contracts. There's a lot of things that are in need of repair, and it's like, what is the priorities involved with that? Operational, definitely with, amenities that are the most used is going to be the top priority, but also there's some things out there that are not necessarily discussed at the moment, but that I'm going to become aware of as we go through the next couple of
And
weeks.
one thing at the facilities, I don't know the threshold. What threshold does Kelso have to make decisions to do repairs and stuff to the building, dollar-wise, without coming to the board?
Well, I'm gonna ask Belinda that, because I said to Kelsey and I chatted about that yesterday. I said, well, ultimately, if he and I together can do 5,000, but is there actually a dollar limit assigned?
There is.
Is it 2?
I don't know. I don't have the resolution in front of me. If you give me a minute, I can
Okay.
pull it through the
Because
index.
we, at the facilities meeting yesterday, we came up, there's a $350 repair to a plastic elbow bracket at the pool. It's cracked. If it cracks, we lose 110,000 gallons of water.
Yeah. I mean, I have
So
my
I think it's something that we should, Kelso should
Oh,
say,
yeah, I mean,
doesn't need us to vote on. We hear it, sees it, do it.
No, and my limit's 5, so that's sort of what we discussed. I have it in my head with River Club, it's either 1 or 2, and I should know that.
I think it's more, let me just
Okay, maybe
pull
it's
it.
5.
I thought it was 5.
That's right, it was 5 also.
I thought it was 5 as well.
Don't look at me, I'm clueless.
I thought it
But
was
I
5.
could be,
I
I
thought
thought
it
it was 2, but I could be wrong.
But yours was
less.
5 and theirs was a little less.
Okay.
But we'll find out.
Belinda is all knowing and all seeing.
So it's,
She is.
it's resolution 2014-02, so. let me-
I don't even actually find all this stuff.
Photographic memory.
Okay, so we're gonna go into disbursement of minutes for invoices of non-continuing, non-River Club expenses, which are required for health, safety, welfare. So non-continuing expenses not exceeding 5,000 with the
Okay.
approval of the district manager. Non-continuing expenses between 5 and 10,000 with the approval of the district manager and chairman or vice chair in the absence of the chair.
That was non-River Club.
That was, yeah, you said non-river club.
Did I say non-river club?
Yes.
Hold on, let me find the other one then.
We have a separate one.
We do, we have one that has both on it. This is 2014 and 02, but I think it is the same,
Okay,
but I'll pull the index. But I can get back to the board and council on that.
all right.
So we'll assume it's the same unless you tell us otherwise.
Pretty much,
Yeah,
I
okay.
think it is, but I'll double check. And I'll forward the resolution to everybody. I know Jill has it, but it's been a while since I've pulled it, so I'll pull it
Okay,
and then
thank you.
I'll send it to everybody.
So Kelsey, you can coordinate with getting those proof from done.
Yeah.
ASAP.
Excellent.
Julie, did you have anything to report, or is that all? Okay,
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm good.
okay.
That's good.
Not yet.
So we are going to move back into our agenda. Keith, do you have anything to report?
Do we need to vote?
Yes.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, I was asking why it's
So we would need a
appointment.
motion to appoint Kelso Valentine as the new general manager for the River Club.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Second by Rich? Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
So I think you already know this, but that is the one position that the board votes on under our management
Yes.
agreement with us.
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody else, you can hire and fire.
Gotcha.
Well, I have it. Okay, Joe, you were right, okay. So it's 2016-01. This one supersedes the 2014. So this one, River Club expenses non-continuing, not exceeding 1,000 incurred by and with the approval of the River Club General Manager. Non-continuing expenses between 1,000 and 5,000 pursuant to a contract agreement reviewed and approved by District Council and incurred by with the approval of the River Club General Manager, Chairman or Vice Chairman in the chairman's absence.
Okay.
That's what I thought it was less.
So 1,000.
Yeah, I remembered it being less.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Keith.
Good morning. So, as we talked about in the workshop, all right, we're gonna move forward with looking for a part-time position for an access control office. Is that the consensus and I'm getting thumbs up all around, Monday through Friday, right now 9 to 1, it all depends on what we see and where the times need to be, okay? And if we get somebody that's outstanding, can only go from 1 to 5, then we can make those things happen. But, so if I'll move forward with that. I've got about 35, 40 applications at this time. So I'll start going through those and making that assessment and having meetings with them.
When are we gonna make that effective, that part-time role?
I'm looking at, probably the first part of July,
Okay, thank you.
so that, we can get ample training, and get that, taken care of, and then she can, whoever it is, that individual can meet with, yourself, Ken,
Ken.
and then,
Okay.
we can, introduce to the new SOP, all right?
Mhm.
If you and I and Ken, we can sit down, well, Ken can't sit down with us, but we can discuss the new SOPs and the procedures.
Great.
Since we're not gonna have an affidavit, it's gotta be pretty cut and dry, this is what we're gonna have.
Mhm.
And, I can foresee, issues, but, that's just part of the ballgame, so.
Yeah.
That's why we make the big money. And we'll just cross that bridge when we get to it. As Rick indicated, we did have a sinkhole, and it was just not on one side. They actually dug all that out and made the repairs on both sides of that downspout that goes down in, so that it won't happen on the other side as well. And you can see where it had been eaten out too, so it's all good and we're back up and flowing. Talked to the golf course about the pile of brush.
Scary.
We'll see where that falls, all right? Other than that, with flower rotation went well. Still got a little problem out here I'm seeing with some dryness out here at the side here, but other than that, I think the flowers look,
They're already dying, yeah.
that's what I just
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
We're gonna, in fact, they're gone.
They left.
And so we're having that discussion, it gets water. I don't know, I was out there yesterday and watching them get water, so I don't know what the issue is right there, but.
And the Vinca usually are not a problem.
And the
So
Vegas usually aren't a problem.
I mean,
Yeah, we have to.
everything there dies. Is there something possibly contaminated in that soil? That maybe somehow somebody threw too much weed killer or God knows what into it, that's just killing everything, and maybe if you replace some of the soil? Because everything, that area, no matter what you plant,
Mhm.
it dies within days.
It didn't used to.
I know, but it's.
Like in the last year.
Or a
it's-
year or
it's
two.
picked up, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe somebody hit it with
Well, I
something.
can certainly see if they can test the soil and see if we do have an issue there.
Or it's,
That is
And
a,
we can certainly talk about it because I talked to Chris today and we are scheduling our next drive around in the next 10 days or so.
especially those ones that keep on dying right in the front, take out take out 10 plants, just cut out a little area, put some new soil in, put 10 plants in and see what happens in a week.
Well,
Because they're always dying in the same place.
we did have a report of a monitor lizard, 7-foot, lizard, and so I've got in touch with I haven't heard back from my trapper yet, but he'll get back with me and we'll discuss this lizard.
It was really a lizard and not a gator.
Well,
What was it?
Leave it to you.
the trapper that came, the homeowner called from Tampa because he had a friend that knew a friend and did him a favor and brought Florida wildlife with him as well. They said they saw a lizard too, a 7-footer and a 4-footer out down that pond area behind their house. And the one said, well, we can just shoot it. And the Florida wildlife guy said, you're not doing that in here.
Not the
And I
residential
went,
area.
no, you're not discharging any weapons in here. So, but he doesn't want to he doesn't want to be involved in that. So my guy will probably, I've got to err on the side of caution to see what's going on out there exactly. But we'll get to the bottom of it and make that happen. I'm thinking it's more gator than anything
Yeah, wouldn't a
else.
10-foot gator, wouldn't a 10 or 12-foot gator eat a 7-foot monitor lizard?
I don't know. I mean,
I
so
don't
the
know.
monitor lizard is in the same species as the Komodo dragon.
Exactly.
So,
They live in Japan.
Typical evidence.
so this is just so y'all know, this actually, our neighbor behind us is the
Where are
one
they
who called
from?
on this.
Ottawa?
And apparently they're not nocturnal, so we should be seeing it because it's supposedly making its highway in our backyard. We have yet to see it.
Yeah.
So not
a
really
gator.
quite sure. Could be a gator. Yes, it could be
Wow.
a gator, but
So we'll get to the bottom of it and put a trap on it and move it on out. Other than that, we'll start with getting the speed bumps and locations for that. I'll get a hold of Paul with Envision and we'll chart out some areas and get that all so you have it for next meeting. Other than that, any questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
the sidewalk at Treviso, but on Venito. There's like a sand dune that's getting created on the
That's Matt's
sidewalk.
coming up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we take a look at that?
You bet.
Great, thank you.
I was gonna ask about Lake 11. I know you said they retreated it
Oh.
yesterday. Yeah, that's just so you all know, that's the one back here.
Thank you.
So Monday, I had Cross Creek come back out.
Right.
and relook at the littoral shelf over here on Pond 11. That's probably one of the biggest lit shelves that we have. But it's also one of the lit shelves that never really goes dry. It stays pretty well. So there's an issue out there. I'm not sure, he came back out Monday and retreated that, and he had done it the week before. I don't know how much more we can do. We have had some other vendors come out and look, and have, I think one has already sent a bid in, and we'll take a look at those, but I'm not necessarily real happy with Cross Creek. I mean, they do some good work on redoing the rocks and those type of things, out at the ponds.
Right.
But
Do we have a maintenance contract with them, or
Yes,
is
Yeah.
it canceled?
It's big.
I'm sure.
it's big.
So
Because I would just say about 11 is that I know it's a Nile monitor. They live in Florida.
Mhm.
My next door neighbor, the Plotkins, Larry said, they've been here 17 summers and they've never seen that kind of weird crap and Tim and Darlene are saying the same thing. And it's, Pat's raising her hand, because it almost looks like a floating grass.
it is, it's a grass that's
big
been killed
pod.
from the bottom, from what I'm being told, and it's floating up, and they retreat it so it'll decay and decay back down. It's just not doing it.
No, it's
And
not,
so-
because I can actually almost see it grow.
So there's some issues, and
Yeah, definitely. So, all right, well, thank you for,
Do we look at another vendor?
So your contract is up for renewal in August. We've already sent out an RFP for bids. We
Okay,
have two
great.
received so far. One of them is Cross Creek, but we are pending two more.
okay.
How much is the contract?
50-something thousand, isn't it?
Okay, but
So-
it's not a formal RFP.
47.6 is your maintenance contract, aerator 2,600, wetland 43.2. So all three were sent out for bid because all three are with the same
So that's close
contract.
to 100, all three together.
So yeah, so this will be on your agenda for your July meeting for your review and approval.
Okay.
Have you seen any of those?
He's seen Solitudes,
Right,
Cross
I've seen
Creek is the
Solitudes,
same
but-
with no change.
Yeah.
But the others, we haven't received them back
Okay.
yet.
Because I think one thing would be helpful, since I saw Pat raise her hand. If there are other ponds that are having issues in here relative to, what we have seen in the past, I think it'll be good for us to know that.
a lot of it is the floating grass that I'm seeing and it's coming with some algae
Yes,
along with it.
yes.
And, to me, that's just an automatic, you need to start treating this
Because it's just
heavier.
making the whole pond stagnant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and if it
Same
never
things
happened
happen behind your
before,
house.
you wonder
Yeah.
if Solitude treated it somehow differently.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking too, because they didn't just arrive.
Right.
Right.
Well, it's like the lizards.
Exactly.
No, it wasn't.
Oh my goodness.
They live here.
They live
There's a Nile monitor lizard that lives in Florida.
You should, start, as soon as you can, at least start researching the people that have responded or potentially going to respond, so we have an idea of, obviously, we can look at a price, but obviously it's gonna be a lot of by recommendations, so.
Well,
if you can start-
we've had Solitude
Yeah.
for, ever since I've been here. And I think they might have been here for 9 years or.
They've been here a long time.
So they were here and they know our ponds and they know the situation. The other company, I'm sure that Belinda's worked with them at some of her other locations. And so my expertise is gonna be with what I know. But we'll just go when we see it and evaluate it from that end.
It was going with the lowest prices, in other words, obviously,
And like
the best
anything, it
result.
depends
Yeah.
on the team you have with your community.
Yes.
Which is why I want, somebody else to research, as opposed to me looking at the numbers and, okay, that looks good, so.
Well, thank you for looking into that, and I
Yep.
appreciate you following up with them. Creating some panic at that end of the pond.
Yeah, no, Well, I walked out there last week when it looked really good. I was like, okay, well, this is working.
Then the
And
next
then
day.
the next day, it was like, holy moly, what happened here?
No,
So,
it's bad. All right, thank
Cool,
you.
thanks.
my pleasure.
So supervisors, we do have the next meeting scheduled for June 23rd, 2025, but I wanted some clarity on that meeting. Is that just going to be a workshop, or you also want to hold a regular meeting?
I think our intention was to do it as a workshop. I recall, because we were
One
gonna.
meeting, one workshop.
Yes, so I think we were gonna do it. Are we all in agreement?
Well, that's what.
Yeah, we're bringing in the amenities company.
Yeah, so we're not gonna
Yeah.
vote, we're not voting that or anything, just, so, okay,
Yeah, because we wouldn't have proposals on anyway,
but,
so
okay.
I think we should turn it into a workshop and.
Okay,
Are
so
we
if
okay
you
with
could
that, Ken?
get,
Are you
if
okay
you
with
could get the agenda items, to us in advance.
Okay,
Did you
Um,
want council president? Did you want Dan Mayor?
I don't think we need to.
Okay.
I don't think we need to.
We'll be trying to get, the workshop agenda out by at least Monday, the 16th.
Okay.
So if you could send those items to us, I would appreciate it so that we can add
I
them
think it's gonna be one
and
item.
circulate the agenda.
Okay.
We are gonna be discussing the budget, in a little bit, but once you approve your budget, an entire process starts for staff.
Yeah.
It's pretty extensive because there's a lot of work that's done behind the scenes that the board doesn't really see, or some of the residents don't see, but we have a tracker where we track by date, by time, we have deadlines, timelines. So for example, the deadline to submit for the trim is July 8th. Tomorrow, I have to get this budget out, so the budget has to be mailed tomorrow. I'm gonna make sure that it's overnighted so that I don't have to worry if it gets lost or something happens over the weekend. But, from there, once it's sent to the city or the county, we have a 60-day point. So that means the public hearings have to be held after that 60-day point.
Yep.
So the 60-day point for us is on August 11th.
Mhm.
This is why we are going to, the actual resolution is gonna have to be changed on here because Laura included the July meeting date on here, but we hadn't entered the timetable yet. So it's not gonna be July 28th. I'm gonna modify the resolution. This will be for your second meeting in August. So that meeting is where you will hold your public hearings, which will be on the 25th of August.
Sounds about right.
It's a tight schedule, but
You need to certify your role.
By the end of August, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, it's a tight schedule. We'll be able to meet all of our deadlines, but I need to know if we'll have an in-person quorum for these public hearings because we will need in-person
I'm
quorum.
here.
I'm here.
I should be here.
Cheryl, you here too?
here.
Okay,
And,
good.
and we'll place the ad and mail notice.
Yes.
Mail notice needs to go out at least 20 days ahead, and the ad once a week for 2 consecutive weeks with the first publication at least 20 days ahead. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do they want to do I'll ask. In the
So-
past, sometimes you've put what I call a plain English letter
Yes.
in with the
We
legal
talked
letter.
about that.
I think
Yeah.
last year Jill put it in the newsletter
Mhm.
rather
Sure,
than
that's
sending
what you
out
wanna
a
do.
letter.
Mhm.
A newsletter was sent out with the breakdowns and explanations. I don't know if you want to do that again.
I think we could send it out as a letter, via our.
Constant
contact?
Constant contact.
Okay,
So then it doesn't have to go in the envelope with the legal letter.
But if there
If
are,
Last year, we put it in the envelope, am I wrong?
no, it
We
was,
didn't put it in the envelope, we put it in the newsletter.
no, it was, Jill had a whole, I think it was 1 or 2 pages
Mhm.
explanation in the newsletter. And she had the assessment tables and charts in there as well with explanations. And it was emailed to the entire community.
I wonder if we used, is a constant contact list conformed with the POA list or not? I wonder if we could use the POA list.
They're, don't usually give me,
Yeah, because my concern is your list may not be as 100%, as maybe it is, I don't know if there was some cleanup done, but.
I mean,
We can ask the CA.
Yeah.
Everybody will get a mail notice, and I know it's a little technical, but it has information in there on how to contact Belinda, so, and things along those
And
lines.
we've tried to tweak it because there's a lot of confusion when the,
Like we say, it's
So that will
not, just
handle,
because it says
that's
it's.
gonna handle the statutory piece. I was just only concerned about the statutory piece, because we also, you know, can put something on the reader board up at the front, and we can have, you know, some hard black and white copies
the
of that.
confusion is on the legal terminology where
Yeah.
it
It's
refers
just a new
to
assessment.
assessments. So everybody thinks it's a new assessment when it's
Correct.
not.
Done
Yeah.
a footnote, and yeah, right, we,
Yeah,
there'll still be questions.
so we'll get drafts of the plain letter, plain English.
The legal letter?
Yeah.
Yes, we can send, once we've worked on it, because that's, first we're gonna start with the ads, then we go into the letters. We can send the draft to the board, and then we have to keep moving as the
Okay.
process goes.
So then we would need to come up with a plain English version on our end.
If that's what you wanna do, not everybody does
You don't
that,
have to,
but it
you
does
have to.
help.
I would be happy to do that.
Okay. I can send you.
I remember, yeah.
Some email addresses, when we went through the tech wave process, we updated every resident's email.
But were those conformed into constant contact? No.
No, but I'm saying that's a source maybe we can draw from.
Yes, you can.
That would be
Yeah,
good,
absolutely,
because
yeah.
then that's probably the most up-to-date version of anybody.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Right, right.
So just a quick update on FEMA. I do have a meeting scheduled with FEMA tomorrow afternoon. There's a new program delivery manager assigned, and this
Surprise.
process has been slow as molasses. But I was talking to Andy this morning because in my email, I had several notices from FDEM for another district of ours that submitted for Hurricane Milton as well. Disappointing to see, but same thing, same issues, you know, they charge a fee for the clubhouse, and the fee is excessive in their opinion, and they're denying each one for this district in particular because they find the fee to be excessive, and the district not open to the public because it has a guardhouse. So I don't know if that district is going to appeal
Again.
again.
They've already done two of those.
Yeah, but I think you should be aware of that, because if, in this case, things were going well, you know, I was receiving a lot of questions from CRC. We provided all sort of coordinates, photos, everything, and then all of a sudden I received the denials. So just be aware. I'll give the board an update after that meeting so that you're aware of, you know, what the new program delivery manager is stating.
I haven't had a CDD yet with Gates get approved. I do have two Lakewood Ranch CDDs that had damages, but they have public roads, like county roads,
Okay,
and no
okay,
gates.
Yeah.
okay.
And then I
Had some money
did
allocated.
have a discussion with Andy regarding a new opt-in option from the Florida Division of Emergency Management for a new program called FROC. They have an opt-in option for 2026. And it's pretty extensive, the information that they've provided. What they are doing is you can set up you can go in, register, and then there's several requirements from the division wherein you are to complete an assessment, and they rate you based on that assessment. The goal of this program is to try to make it easier for government entities to obtain funding when you submit a request for public assistance, but this is, it starts with the disaster readiness assessment that would need to be completed by October 31st of this year. There's a whole timeline, there's a lot of information on it, but our discussion was, well, if we do pre-register and they do rate the district, are we gonna have any success because of the ongoing issues with FEMA denying the districts because of the fees associated with the use for non-resident users. So I can circulate this information and you can take a look at it, but I'm not sure whether or not, you know, given the current situation with all of the denials, if it's worthwhile.
Yeah, thank you.
And that's all I had. Any questions for me?
Yeah, just a couple quick things. So we were talking about the July 14th meeting we're gonna be in the middle of having the parking lot project started. So we'll have no access to the River Club.
In the past, whenever there's been work at the club and we couldn't
Yes.
access, the golf club was asked if we could hold our meetings
I
there.
tried that, and they're having the carpets cleaned that day. So I think there's a couple of options. I personally would prefer not to cancel the meeting, but I think, can we meet via Teams? Did Governor DeSantis rescind that thing?
You need 3 people physically
Rats, I
present
thought
in
maybe
the
that thing
room.
was still sitting.
But you could meet somewhere else in Sarasota County. I mean, library or, public, you can't meet in somebody's house or something.
Right,
Mhm.
well, yeah, so I think, there's a couple
Or we
options.
could change the date.
Or we could change,
Or you change the date.
the date.
Yeah.
we could change the date.
Because you do have, you have a meeting scheduled on the 28th.
But I wonder if we should go
You
the
can
week prior
also
to when we
decide to
start
move
the.
your July 14th meeting a week up, or
That's what I was.
is the
July
paving,
7th.
when does the paving start?
The 14th.
Then we can move it and re-advertise it for July 7th.
That's the 4th of July weekend.
I
The
have
Monday.
a couple other meetings that day, but I could potentially get coverage if there was.
So
Or
we
you
just
can
move it to a
just-
different day, like Wednesday?
It doesn't have to
Tuesday?
be Monday.
It doesn't have to be Monday, you
Well,
can move
I mean, if they're only cleaning the
is-
carpets on
can
Monday.
golf course, can we use the golf course
Well,
Wednesday?
he said they have no staff that day, but I think if I asked him if we could, and I'll email him, so maybe I'll have an answer before we adjourn. Could we do it on Wednesday as opposed to Monday? I mean, would the,
So you're talking like whatever
the
that is.
16th,
I'm
So the
open on the
18th instead of
16th.
16th, I'm sorry, July.
16th.
16th instead
Yeah,
of
let me
14th.
Yeah.
email Jay right now and see.
And that's the week the course is closed?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. And we don't need any services.
No,
Right.
exactly.
Right,
We just need a
we just need,
bathroom.
right,
Exactly.
Just need access.
yeah, we need a room.
July 16th.
July 16th.
I mean, like I said, you could do, I can make that.
We call me the court shack.
It's not close, but, my office is in Sarasota County, and that's always an option available.
Oh, okay. Well, let me try Jay first.
I mean, it'd be fine as a plan B if the golf
Yeah.
course just keeps saying no.
Yeah, the golf course just says,
Then we could just do it on the 14th then.
we can do it on the 14th at,
In his office.
yeah, in his office.
Yeah.
We would just have to run a new ad with the new location.
I'll try Jay right now.
The only problem with that is the public comment piece, people are gonna be having to go all the way up. And
Yeah, like I said, it's not exactly.
What about-
so hopefully the golf course will
Hopefully
say
the golf
yes.
course will see, yeah.
And
Because there's also
16th would
the
actually-
public
Does
library.
the fire department have like a?
They
a
do.
room or something?
They do, it's actually not a bad little room. I've
Yeah.
been in there a bunch of times.
That's another
I
option
could-
too, or the
I could
library.
try it.
Yeah, that's close. I mean, the fire department's right there.
What's that?
Couldn't we park on Bella Vista and walk across the tennis courts
You know,
over?
that is an option. I was thinking about that. I mean, they're not gonna have it completely
I mean,
blocked off.
We
Yeah.
can park
Yeah, but
in their
there's-
parking lot and
But there's
walk
gonna be
over
machinery,
the.
there's gonna be machinery in here chewing up the, I don't know what the.
How loud it's.
I didn't talk about, I'm talking about the safety factor. I don't know what's gonna be involved in,
That's true.
equipment ripping up and they're there and you're trying to squeak by. I'm just like the
Let's see
safety
what Jay
factor.
says.
Okay, yeah. So just as long as we know in advance so that we can run the ad with the new location, we should be good.
Okay, and then I just had two other quick things. The first is, we had, this is a question for Kelso, we had talked in principle, you and I had, Belinda, about if we would need to access, vote to access the old tennis, the bowl ball machine. And then we talked about accessing the stringing machine, surplusing the stringing machine. Have you talked to Kelso about the stringing machine?
I have not,
Okay.
yes.
Um,
So we talked about
Right,
surplusing the stringing machine just because of the fact that it's not utilized, and if I'm correct, we don't get revenue from it. Is that
No,
correct?
that's
Yeah,
So far as I understand.
right,
no.
so it would free up space in that back room if we surplus the stringing
In what
machine.
back room? In,
In the pro shop,
gotcha.
yeah. Mhm.
And we have somebody who wants to buy it.
And we have somebody that wants to buy it,
What's
yes.
the value?
But it's about 600 bucks.
Yeah, it was like 600 bucks.
5,000 is the threshold.
Oh,
Oh, okay,
so we can just deal with it.
okay, I'll deal with,
No,
I'll deal.
well, we have
Well,
to
we have to,
surplus it,
strip
but if it's 5,000 or more, we gotta do a whole
Oh, I see.
advertising.
Oh,
process.
okay.
I see.
Okay,
So be, my suggestion, I don't see any harm to it, would just be to surplus the 2 items here
Right,
today.
and then you guys can
Decide what you're gonna do with them.
all right, let's do
Yeah,
that.
So I'm gonna make a
Motion,
motion.
motion,
Go ahead.
I motion to surplus the Opal machine and the string machine.
Second,
I guess it's off agenda, so I don't know if anybody
Oh.
has any comments
Oh.
on this, but.
Any comments? Tennis players?
Nobody wants it.
tennis players?
Right thing to do.
Okay, there you go. All right,
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
I'll get in touch with you.
Okay, and then I just had one, go ahead.
No, I was gonna back up to the last item, which was the meeting.
Yeah.
There's another option. We could also park, the Schimbergs have offered their house. We could park at their house and walk across.
oh, walk through.
Yeah. So that Darlene texted me, because I couldn't understand the.
She never even put her hands anywhere, I didn't
I
see that.
know.
So
Slide.
we can walk across.
That's a- there's an easement there.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying, but it's, so it's nowhere near the parking lot.
Well, wait,
No, you come back to where like the bike rack is.
Hold on.
You can walk around the
keep
back.
in mind, the idea is that, okay, we all have to get there too, but it has to be a public space that's open to the public, that the public can access and feel like that they can attend the meeting, so.
What about the welcome center?
You know, I was thinking about that, but I don't know what shape that is in there.
Oh.
It might be a little mildewy,
And
a
any,
little free.
and
Okay.
any seats and any chairs and stuff.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't wanna go there.
Let me see what Jay says.
Yeah, okay, so, okay,
Yeah.
thank you for the offer.
Do the golf spot on the 16th, that'd be great.
I was gonna ask you quickly, Belinda, just so the others know, so, you may be aware that we had a very small fire in back of the River Club a few weeks ago. And,
Actually, no, I was
it was very small, it was off the boardwalk, toward the pool and maybe about, would you say about 500 feet in, Tim?
Quite a ways back. in the
Yeah.
corner, yeah.
So I was asked by a former supervisor, it was very small, it was literally like 6 feet in diameter, it was lightning strike that smoldered, and then a couple staff members poured some
Was
buckets
it
of water.
POA
on it.
property or our property?
It was POA property.
Okay.
But a former supervisor and POA board member asked me about putting some kind of fire detection thing on top of the River Club that would spot or smell a fire in the preserve. And I said, well, the fire department doesn't seem fussed about us needing more fire protection stuff here at the River Club. They seem very happy with the hydrants and access and everything else. Is it worth one of us contacting the Florida Insurance Alliance and see if they would recommend that we do something up there due to the proximity of that? I mean, is this like off the wall? I just wanted to ask.
I haven't heard of it, but it doesn't hurt to ask. I mean, we
Okay.
can always ask.
Let me draft something, I'll email it to you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you have fire detection systems, for example, out here anywhere, but I don't know of any.
I don't think we do, because it got spotted by a resident who lives in the condos who saw the smoke.
Mhm.
And then she alerted Nick, who was working on the tennis courts, and he and Rolando got on there with a golf cart, and they had like a little bucket brigade going apparently, and put the fire out before the fire department was okay with them doing it, so.
The problem with the monitoring system, it's not gonna be an alarm system.
No, it's not, it's gotta be
Who's gonna
monitored.
monitor?
It's gotta be monitored, that's
Exactly. So
my
I have some
question.
big issues with that, because
I
then there's a
agree.
liability of what if you don't monitor?
Well,
Right, why wasn't anyone?
It's like having a pool, it's like having a pool.
Exactly, I don't,
I said I would ask, so,
Yeah, I mean, we can ask, and I
We might
can
do it
report
in
back
ask,
once
yeah.
I get an answer.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right, moving on to item number 6A, which is the discussion of the appointment of a new, is it one member, Cindy, or two?
it is just,
Can we have a break?
Sure. Sure. Okay, it's 11:13 a.m. We're gonna take a 10-minute break.
this is the email I received from, there you
Oh,
go.
wait, Councilman,
Yeah, we're gonna do the tech week.
Okay. Okay, so I have turned the recorder back on at 11:21 a.m. and we are back on the record. The next item on the agenda is item number 6A, which is the discussion regarding the appointment of a new member to the Fitness Advisory Committee. Cindy, did you
Yes.
want to make a nomination?
I would like to nominate Sherry Salsa as Fitness Pool Advisory Committee member. I reached out to her back in December, and unfortunately, she wasn't able to participate at that point. Her calendar has since opened up. I think she'd be a great addition. She's at the pool all the time, taking fitness classes. She does water aerobics, and she does do lap lane swimming as well. So I think it would be a great add to have her on that committee.
Who is she replacing?
It was an open position. Chris Morton has since stepped down, and I've got to now find a backfill for him. But this was a position that we hadn't been able to fill for a while.
Okay.
I make a motion to nominate her.
Great.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Ken,
Thank you.
Ken, did we lose you?
You did.
Okay. Were you in favor?
Can you hear me?
Yes, were you in favor?
I was,
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
still am.
Okay, moving forward, we now have item number 6B, which is the discussion and consideration of the aqua plumbing and air preventative maintenance proposal. This is behind tab number 3 for your review. Kelso, did either you or Julie want to give an overview on this?
It's in a package, right?
Yes.
Well,
And it was chosen by the facility committee.
The facilities committee looked at a bunch of different companies. These people seem to have the best rating, they're carrier authorized. So if and when we need to replace parts, pieces, whatever, they're more competent. We're hoping that they can do a better job in balancing out the system. It's also more expensive, but they're also coming 4 times a year instead of twice a year, with the issues that we've been having, like that leak we had up there. The pan was not put in properly. The leak detection thing was not put in the pan in the right place. The pipe got clogged, and then we had water running throughout the building. So things like that, we need better attention. And how it survived that long, I don't know, but if you don't clean the pipes out,
Right.
you get back.
You said this is more expensive?
Yeah, but I think the other quote we had was Frank Gay again, and he was like $3,000 or $3,500, but that was for twice a year. He did not have filters in his thing, he didn't have this. It was,
So it should kind of be a wash once you put all that stuff together.
this might be a little bit more expensive, but it's also gonna involve a lot more preventive maintenance, so we're not gonna have all these breakdowns, emergency repairs, things
Yeah.
needing replacement and screw ups and.
There's a lot of units, this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
There are
and
a lot of-
and that's probably $2,000-3,000 right there, so
Yeah.
if
Okay.
Frank, if that was not, if we had a company.
Exactly.
I don't know if you wanted a contract. I will point out that there is a 30-day termination for convenience, and I don't see anything too objectionable, but I'm glad to do whatever the board would like.
So the drains for these AC units were only getting drained twice a year?
Well, no, they were only getting cleaned twice a year.
They weren't getting cleaned twice a year?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
I spoke to him now, though, he's now gonna start going through, and I told him that the stuff they have to pour in the drains, and he's gonna start doing that more often, but he said like the air filters in the kitchen need to replace more than once
Okay.
every 3 months, so he's gonna do that on a monthly basis.
Okay,
So he's gonna do some, we're gonna start pouring the chemicals in, but it's also just more preventative maintenance, getting things set up, because what happened is, like over here.
yeah.
The drain pan is pitched like this, and the sensor is up over here.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
So, it doesn't do it, so it overflowed on this side, the sensor never went off,
Got it.
Okay,
and the pipe was blocked.
Okay, so you want a motion?
yeah, you want to make a motion?
Yeah, make a motion to accept Aqua Plumbing.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
question about unit 10. They say the location is unknown.
I think it's a serial number, isn't it?
The serial number is unknown.
Mhm.
What we're gonna have to, what we're doing, Ken, is as soon as they start, we're gonna have them go through and do a full assessment of each piece of equipment. Give us any, really go through it, let us know what needs to be fixed, replaced, repaired, useful life. This way we can then get back into with reserves and really get a better indication of what's going on, with real life answers as opposed to the, or whatever, but yeah, they could not get that, and also what I'd even like a better,
They have the serial number, it looks like.
there's
That's
some,
location.
Yeah, I misread
locations,
what the
yeah.
column
Yeah.
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does say unknown.
It says location unknown.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, you're
weird.
right, Ken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they obviously need to find it.
That'd be good.
But, so they did not go ahead, they did not come here and go through the entire equipment. They went, a lot of it was based off of the information that we have provided to them as well. So they're not, they didn't spend hours and hours and hours going through the entire facility here.
Well, do we have a Coleman AC or are they all Carrier? Because I wonder if that one has been disposed of.
That's a good question.
Yeah,
I think we do. I mean,
We do.
it's-
Okay.
I believe so.
okay.
I did not put this thing together, so, the committee did. But being that they are, like I said, they are carriers authorized, I think we should have somebody who knows what they're doing.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Ken, are you in favor?
I guess you're not hearing me over the,
No.
sorry.
Okay.
I'll wait and say it later.
All right. We're now going to move into item number 6C, which is the discussion and consideration of the Williford flooring proposal. This is behind tab number 4 for your review.
So I have a question before we do this. It is about this, but since we approved a not to exceed budget and this is the same price,
I asked Andy, and he said for him to write a contract with the new vendor, we had
because
to.
we need a contract.
Well,
Thank you.
Well,
that
that was,
just came in like a day ago. I'm like, I got a meeting in a couple days.
yeah, that was his,
Okay.
that was his
Okay.
suggestion. I wanted to prove it, but.
So
Correct.
I actually, is there an electrician that's required for this one as well, Rich?
Yeah, it actually it's a pretty significant kind of thing. And actually, Aqua is, I spoke to, Council about this, says that Aqua is also has electrical service. So now that we can call them up and tell them we're hiring them as their, we can possibly piggyback and get a better price on the electrical side, because now we're giving her
Grouping it
business.
together.
Can I ask what the electrical background in it is on this? Is it because they need the 220, 50 amps?
Yes, 220,
Okay.
yeah, because the dustless sander draws a lot of power, and the further you are away from the equipment, you start losing amperage.
Yes.
So they need a 100-foot cord. They're gonna supply a power booster to then go to the next 100 feet, because the room is more than 200 feet away from.
Mhm. Okay.
So, yeah,
So we're talking a significant cost. So,
Could be.
okay, so I will take some of that back then to fitness and pool and then ask them about the other murals and things like that. Okay.
So I just want to add to that. So we talked at the facility meeting yesterday about buying this 220 volt cord, for the power for the sander itself. So there's other options, specifically Sunbelt, Solomon said they do commercial rentals. And so I would suggest, reaching out and getting a quote.
No, we didn't talk about buying it. We just said we needed it. We weren't gonna buy it.
Okay.
So maybe
Well, so that's what Tim had mentioned is a significant cost in buying that. And it's like, I was like,
No.
no, there's a rental,
No, I think you
option.
have an electrician come, they put it in and take it back out, because it's gonna need to be unplugged, after we use it, so,
And it's a clamp into the board.
I believe so.
Okay.
Tim's the electrician, I'm not.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Cindy's becoming the expert.
And I don't wanna.
So what do we need to do today?
I think just a motion to approve,
The Williford.
I'm not sure, I wasn't at your meeting, whether you approved the other vendor or just an amount.
We did both.
We
Okay,
did,
so then it'll be a motion to terminate the approval of the previous vendor and approve the contract with Williford Flooring.
Yes, I motion what he just said.
To repeal the
Subject-
contract of footprint.
Subject to
Yes.
preparation of the
Mhm.
contract.
Okay.
Second.
Who presented the motion? Was it Cindy?
Me.
Or Rich? Second by Cheryl. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Who needs to sign the contract? Joe?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you send it to me, I'll get it to them, and I'll get it.
Okay.
I'll get it back and then get it to
I
you.
should be able to turn it quick because I have the other one.
Yeah, so you send, I'll forward it, I'll get it signed, and then I'll send it both to you, and you can figure out what you guys need to do.
Did we get any lead time from Williford on this or not?
They actually wanted to come, on the original date,
Of June, whatever?
Yeah,
Okay,
but,
okay.
but we couldn't do it because obviously.
We didn't have this piece of it. Okay, so he's ready to roll, so we need to make sure that we communicate to the
Well, but
residents.
you need the electrical first.
Yes,
That's the key thing. So Kelso's got, I sent Kelso the proposal last night, which has their electrical requirements on it.
Yeah,
So,
then we will need 220 on a 50 amp breaker for 4-wire booster box, 30 amp, 125, 230.
okay,
so,
Only Cindy knows.
so, and that's why I had them put there exactly, because I said I did not want any issue of
Right.
us not supplying exactly what you need. And this is where we can tell you exactly what we need and not get stuck in the middle again.
Okay.
So I guess it's gonna be up to, once we get this done, it's gonna be up to Kelso and then Williford Flooring agreeing on a date. And I guess I'm kind of out of it at that point.
okay, perfect,
Because it's gonna be electrical, it's gonna be electrician dependent.
right. All right, cool, and we just need to make sure that we communicate to the community the cancellation of the classes. And this might not be the right time to bring this up, but I believe the instructors asked to be paid for those cancellation of classes. Is that a conversation that we need to have here and now? Nope. Andy's shaking his head
No,
no.
I mean, you can, I just
Okay,
don't,
all
I
right.
think that's more of an operational thing, but that's up to you guys.
Kind
Ken,
of the investigation.
I didn't hear your vote, Ken. Were you in favor?
Uh-oh. He's done.
Ken?
He's not speaking anymore.
Yes, aye.
Okay. Sorry, going back to the
Whatever
canceled
the question
classes.
was.
Okay. All right,
I think that's about them being paid. I think that's up to Vesta.
Operational.
it's operational,
Operational
okay,
issue, definitely.
okay.
Moving on, we're gonna move on to item number 6D, which is the review and discussion of the River Club color rendering. This is behind tab number 5 for your review.
This is gonna be quick, don't worry.
I thought you guys would discuss this at the workshop.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, but we have to vote now,
Okay,
yes.
We should.
Okay, so I guess at the workshop, we all discussed that we are going to go forward with Sherwin-Williams color SW 7037 balanced beige.
6, accessible beige.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Nice
I'm
try.
sorry.
Yeah.
Nice try.
Excuse me, 7036 accessible beige, my mistake. I got it right here and I pulled that. Yep, I'm
Don't
sorry.
make me call your wife.
Yeah, no, so S7036 Belinda, accessible beige with SW 7006 extra white for the trims,
Yes,
per this rendering.
yes.
okay.
Cool.
Yeah, it's gonna look great.
Got it.
And Rich, just to clarify, that'll be on this building, the tiki bar, the tennis shed,
And the front,
and the front gate.
Yeah.
And the gate guardhouse.
and
Okay,
guardhouse-
thank you.
And the guardhouse, we have not picked out a color for the guardhouse roof color yet. We're gonna speak to him to see what color, because you can't go too crazy
Yeah.
off colors.
Right,
So we just have to find something that's
okay,
workable for that, and we'll establish that. And I guess Kelso is gonna be handling everything except for the guardhouse painting. We'll have to coordinate that with you. Once they're on premises, you can have those conversations with the painter, and come up with a schedule, and it should not take very long.
Yeah, contracts all signed.
Great.
great.
All right,
Is that a motion?
Do we have?
Is that a
So,
motion?
so
Give
make
me
a
one,
mo-
1 second, I'm writing it down. Yeah, I think we would just need a motion to approve the rendering utilizing Sherwin-Williams number SW7036 and SW7006.
Yes,
Motion.
Okay, is there a
Second.
second?
yes,
Cindy?
second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Ken.
There it is.
Alright. We're now gonna move into item number 6E, which is the presentation of the proposed budgets for fiscal year 2025, 2026, either behind tab number 6 for your review. We also have the consideration of resolution number 2025-04, approving a proposed budget for fiscal year 2025, 2026, and setting a public hearing thereon. That is behind tab number 7 for your review. So we did hold a workshop wherein we had an extensive review of both the general fund budgets and the River Club budget. That workshop took place on May 21st. Melissa made changes to her worksheet and she submitted them to me, and I incorporated them into the packet. I don't have any additional changes. One change on the general fund budget was the reduction in the position to part-time for the admin, so that reduction was made, and all of the assessment schedules were updated. Ken, I wasn't in the office yesterday. I know you called me regarding the reserves. I guess we can talk about those when we get into it, but are there any additional changes to the general fund budget?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, so yesterday at the Racket Sports Committee, there was a conversation about the tennis courts and the clay and laying down and retape. Oh, I'm sorry, never mind. Wrong conversation.
Fine.
So I just had it's a math question, because I didn't do the math and I should have. So the budget for 2025, 26, the staff salaries and payroll for the general fund at 207,360 reflects the 50% reduction, I guess, in the admin position.
It does. I don't have the breakdown with me,
Okay.
but I can ask Chico to send that to the board.
Okay, yeah, because I assume that's the,
And that should be,
what would you say, 2.3% in terms of the increase? Okay.
Yes.
I assumed so, I just didn't try to backfit the math.
and there should be medical, like, healthcare coverage.
Not for the part-time person,
Oh.
no. Benefits were not, from what I understood, were not part of this number for the part-time person. So overall, there is a decrease in the general fund budget, not an increase.
Anybody else want the hard copy? Just
How much?
There's a decrease in just the general fund. budget.
Right, but.
Who has the
I'm
hard
on
copy?
assessments.
So there's one right here.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah, I'll take it.
that's
Because
just
I
one
had
thing.
it
few.
with several schedules in principle.
Well, I don't need that many, geez.
That's
all right.
That's
General fund, but.
Well, you have increases in here. The reason why it's decreasing is because
Probably is.
of the change primarily in the staff salaries.
Did you increase, well, district engineer just he just approved the raise. Did we?
Oh, thank you.
Did we pick him up?
Yeah,
I have electronic.
I didn't increase Rick's fees because our projected annual right now is 38,722.
Electronically.
But his annual budget is
Mine's
50,000.
Yeah, I couldn't read it.
All right.
And if you go back to the trend report that I previously provided,
Yeah.
he typically at year end has been,
So he's been under.
yeah,
Yes.
always under.
Yeah.
Just last year alone, he was 48,420, 48.
48, so if you just got a raise, if that's the same last year with the raise, that'll be over 50.
It's a different year though. There was a lot last year and the prior year between projects and pickleball. So it really does depend on how you want to increase this. We can, but right now we're trending lower.
I mean, I'm all for lower, but I'm also trying to be realistic.
I mean,
I'd
The
rather have,
difference in the budget, so you have a zero
Engineer.
District engineer.
I'd rather have some extra money left over at the end of the year than be short.
Me too, I don't want to decrease.
And have to pull it out.
Yeah, I don't want to decrease anything else. We have a very modest increase for the assessment, so.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Well, and they come down anyway.
So what are you thinking? How much?
I would put,
60?
yeah, I would go to 60, just a cushion. Because if we're gonna also start looking at doing work on LaSala, that may affect something that he's involved in, I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, and I forgot, Rick never got back to us with the parking lot information. I know I forgot something about doing the cutouts
Oh, okay.
and the striping, so all the work, so, great, okay. I'll have to reach out to him.
So I'm making a change as we speak,
Okay.
and I'm putting in comments so that when I circulate the final
Okay.
worksheet, you'll see them. Any other changes to the general fund budget?
No.
Great. Ken, general fund reserve?
Yeah, so I guess I'm a little confused. I thought the number would be 407,500. The current year budget is 395,600. So the next year after that is 407,500, if you're following that same funding pool plan. And I don't know where the 419,575 came from.
Well,
I think you went to another year.
no, you told me to add in the interest and the expenditure when we talked. So,
The interest is on a separate line.
yeah, no, you told me that line 24, when you and I talked, should have not just been the 407.5, it should have been the 407.5 plus the 29. I don't know if you remember that you and I we went back and forth and we were talking about the interest, because originally I had the 407.5. But if it needs to be changed on line 24,
You had,
we can change it to
In the last one-
407.5.
in the last submission, you had 389,813, and I said it should be 407.5.
Mhm.
Interest is on a separate line. I'm just following the exact same pattern you used for the current year budget.
I don't know, I'm confused, Ken, because when we talked,
So the tax,
you told me I had to expense the interest plus the 407.5 on line 24.
no, I'm up on the tax roll line.
The tax roll line is the tax roll amount minus the interest earnings. That's why it's 419.5.
407,500. The interest is on line 12.
So what does he want line 5 to be? What do you want line 5 to be, Ken?
407,500.
It's not gonna be 407.500, Ken, because we have bank fees also. So your tax roll amount is not gonna be your exact reserve amount.
Oh.
Right.
It was in the current year budget.
You didn't have, bank fees as a budget line item.
Right. And we're tracking them.
In the 400.
Yeah, the 8,400 is just for this year, now that we have a pattern with Dana and we know what our fees are going to be, we included all of Dana's fees in this line. But you did not have an annual budget amount for fiscal year 24, 25.
Okay.
So,
If that's the difference, that's fine.
yeah, your tax roll amount is not gonna be the 407.5 because you have an additional $8,400.
Okay,
So you're fine with line number 24, which is the 407.5 plus the 29?
$29.
What's the 29? Sorry, now you want.
The interest.
The
The interest is 26.
26 is the interest, 26,087.
So it's like 4.
Line 5, I thought you just said line 5 was the 407.5 plus the bank fees.
Line 5 is your 407, your expense at the bottom,
Mhm.
which is right now, your total 445,662 minus your interest. The interest is 26,087. That's your assessment amount.
So this is all math except for line 24. So Ken has to be comfortable with line 24.
Yeah.
So Ken, line 24?
Line 22.
No, 24. The capital reserve.
Because that's the number we have to fund,
Correct.
yes.
You just said line 5 would be the 407,500 plus the bank fees of 8,400.
No,
Interest.
No.
this whole schedule is just math. So
Yeah.
you really have to just focus on line 24. Everything else is just a calculation.
Okay,
Are you okay with line 24, Ken? With the 437,262?
I think so. I don't get it. We didn't do that in last year's budget.
No, because the bank fees weren't there, right?
That's correct.
Right, so the bank fees, that's what the difference
Right.
is. So you gotta start out with what that capital reserve is and then back in to determine what the tax roll is
It's
gonna
like
be.
going Excel.
Yeah,
I think the confusion is you're reducing your assessment amount because you're applying interest towards that assessment. That's why it's showing
Correct.
419
Correct.
and not 407.
Correct. Yep.
Yep.
Mhm.
So it's plus 26 minus 84. That's, I
Yes.
think, that's the math
Yes,
part.
that is the main part,
That's the
yeah,
math.
yeah.
Sounds like the way I
Okay.
balanced my.
So I guess that, yeah, the question then becomes is what was in the reserve study for 25, 26? Was it that $437,000?
It was the 407.
It was the 407,
Right.
okay, got it, okay. That explains that,
All right. Are we
All
good
right.
with that
I'm good with that.
I am.
Okay.
then? All right.
So River Club Fund, Melissa made the changes. I don't,
Okay.
is Melissa here? Oh, there she is.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, stay back there.
I don't know if there's any additional changes to the River Club Fund.
So one of the things that we talked about in the RSAC meeting yesterday was the investment that we're gonna need to make in the tennis courts to get the lines and the clay and everything all taken care of. We currently have $18,000 in this year's budget. We'd like to use, like, I think probably about 12 of that to take care of some things, but we need a total of about $30,000 to fix the courts. Is that right, Kelso? If I remember the number from yesterday. We need about $30,000 in total to fix the courts correctly, which means rerunning the lines and renailing all the lines and everything, because the lines are lifting up and there's some issues with them. So, I need, if we use 12 this year, I think I'm probably gonna need, at least 18, if not more than that for next year, if I'm doing the math correctly.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be some increases, given,
Yeah.
supply and demand. And I would say you'd be better off just say not to exceed
20, okay, so I would like to change the tennis line for next year for the clay to 20, if I could, Melissa.
Currently, it's at 18.
Yeah, let's make that,
You wanna make it 20?
it's just, this is just for the clay,
Just clay
not,
alone,
yeah, this is
okay.
just the clay and the reset,
Okay.
yes, exactly. So if we
Okay.
can make that 20 on this piece, and then when we get to reserves, I'll talk to you about, we'll talk about reserves piece. So that's one change I need to make on that one, okay?
What line is it, Cindy, so I can just, I'll make it here, Melissa, and I'll make a note.
On the consolidated, what line is it, Cindy?
Yeah, I'm looking for it. I can only find it when it's on the tennis piece.
Okay, will this help you? I'm opening up the spreadsheet. Tennis detail, right?
Yeah, the tennis detail page.
Okay, let me get up here, because I'm on like 500.
Thank you.
something.
There it is, right there.
Oh,
What
I
line
see.
is that?
That's line 25. Tennis
Tennis
court
court dressing.
dressing is at 18,000.
Yeah,
Line 25 is below golf cart repairs.
I don't have that because
She
I'm
needs
working
to-
off
she
of the
needs to figure out where
consolidated.
it goes
That's
on
okay, Melissa
consolidated.
can.
I'll find it here.
So.
yeah, okay, thank you. I'm looking to see where it could be. But, okay, so an extra 2,000 there.
Well, it's gonna be in the repairs line, right? The,
Which one?
expense 7210.
Is that where she's got, is that where it's classified right now?
So if you go, is this
Say the
roll?
12. Yeah, under tennis.
Yes, Linda, you need to change line 44.
Yes,
Add
there you go.
Yes.
Yes, line 44. Thank you, repairs and maintenance equipment.
And that's a roll across all departments.
Yes. That's just not tennis, that's why it's just easier for me to look at the tennis, but that's, thank you for opening that up.
No
by the way.
problem, yeah,
Okay.
I live and die by this.
It's not a big number, but I thought we could capture it, and then, we'll use 12 of it this year, and then another 18 to 20 next year.
Got it.
All right?
Anything else on the River Club budget?
For the kitchen equipment goes under which account? Kitchen equipment and food equipment, which account would that be listed under?
I'm sorry, say that
Which,
again.
pool equipment and kitchen equipment, where would that, is that under this account?
Be in reserves.
In
Yeah,
reserves?
exactly.
Okay, so
Well, you've got, it depends on what part of it is. Some of it's can be under repair maintenance equipment, some might be captured under the maintenance contracts.
okay, because we have about $20,000 of pool equipment and $80,000.
So you're talking replacement, you're talking about reserves.
That's reserves.
It's reserves,
Yeah.
not the operating.
I just want to make sure
fund.
reserves are good enough
Yeah.
for that, so we're looking at about $100,000 between
Yeah.
those two.
I've got to change to reserves as well.
So,
So
yeah,
the initial proposal for the kitchen equipment was 90. And he just had another piece of equipment that is questionable that got repaired or Band-Aid at the moment. So with, new pizza program, we do have several pieces of equipment that are operational, but they're making it because they're old and outdated. And so there's a couple things that we looked at as far as what's immediate and then what's, eventually can be repaired, just like any of the ACs and the other equipment that is getting close to expiration or, at the end of their lifespan in general. And so I would prefer to, have that in consideration for the reserves to make sure that if that equipment does go, that we're able to replace it without having to, go into deeper reserves.
Well, we can look at that, I guess, when we look at the reserves number for the River Club, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Unless it's operational, like filters and things like that, if it's got a useful life of 3 years or more, it would be in reserves.
No, this is equipment, real equipment, Ken, so, yeah, this would be in
Yeah.
reserves.
Okay, reserves, yeah.
Good. Okay.
But the River Club operational, it sounds like we're all good on that? Okay, yep.
Yeah.
River Club reserves?
So, one thing that's not in the reserves that I would like to include is the furniture for the tennis and pickleball areas. We had an old estimate that was done. The count, the overall number of pieces isn't changing at all from when we did our analysis a couple years ago. However, the pricing that we have is from 2023, and that pricing was like about a $25,000 investment. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to add 35,000 into the reserves just to cover any increase in costs.
Cindy, that's not how reserves are handled.
No.
They're not done on an item by item basis in the budget.
Okay,
So you should be okay.
It would be covered under the total reserves funding.
okay, so it's not
that
itemized.
exists.
Okay, but our,
If it's new equipment that hasn't, that, as opposed to replacing, then it would be part of the capital number that we're adding to.
It's new, there's stuff there, but I don't think that stuff exists in the current reserve study.
Correct, it does not exist in the current reserve study.
Right.
That's
It's
my
brand
issue,
new.
Ken.
But you're replacing equipment. so
You are, but it's
fine.
not currently, so it would be new for capital versus reserve.
Right, so that's the issue, Ken, I think, is that it was never in the reserves to begin with, to replace the tennis equipment.
And if it's a large enough item that's not been reserved for, it would be considered capital.
Capital.
Okay. Okay,
And we're adding 75,000 to the capital funding.
can we change that number to 100 then?
yeah, because like I said, Ken, we have quite a bit of pool equipment and kitchen equipment already in there, so I want to make sure we have enough capital reserve for everything else we're looking at.
Well, the other wouldn't be capital, it would be part of the reserve replacement.
Okay,
It's not a budget item.
So you don't feel that any of the acceleration of potential replacement of kitchen equipment, for example, that Kelso was talking about, would warrant raising the reserves for the River Club for this year? Beyond.
You don't do it on a year by year basis.
I understand that. I understand that.
You look at it on a broader perspective.
Okay.
So what we're going to be proposing is we update the reserve study this fall rather than waiting until next year.
Okay, that's good.
And those are all things that would come under reconsideration of the whole funding plan.
Okay, fair enough. So we'll worry about it for the next budget cycle.
It just wouldn't be, it's not a budgetary item, that's all I'm
Understood.
saying.
No,
I
get it.
just want to make sure we have
That's
enough
fine.
money for all these things. That's
There's
fine.
enough money in reserves overall.
Okay.
Okay,
You
Then
heard
that's
it here
great, thank
first,
you.
Kelso.
okay.
Any changes to the River Club reserves?
No.
That's all we get.
Yes, on.
Debt service is the same, we knew that.
Where's the 75,000 that we're funding for capital?
I'm trying to figure out where that was at.
That's not part of the reserve. It's currently in the operating budget.
It's in the general fund budget. I
It's
mean,
in
the
the
River
River
Club
budget.
budget, it's included there.
I know, is that the right place for it?
We don't prepare separate budgets for capital items, because typically we don't have capital. It's either your general fund or your general fund reserve, or your enterprise fund and your enterprise fund
So
reserve.
you're saying it's gonna get collected there, but then ends up, kind of like we did with the hurricanes?
Yeah. Same
Yeah.
thing.
Okay,
Except
So it
it's
gets
not a
collected
separate
there,
line.
but then
Yeah,
pulled in.
you have
for
to
the
keep
other
in mind that your reserves and your general fund are considered one fund. They're
Yes.
just separated out, but
Yeah.
for capital items, we don't have a separate budget.
stuff. Understood. Understood.
We tried to a few years ago. That was kind of a
It's not very
nightmare.
complicated.
It was awful, so this is better.
Any other items?
So,
so where do I see that in the River Club Fund?
Look on line 82.
Thank you.
It's actually see capital reserves. and-
Got it, okay, I missed the line completely. Thank you very much.
I have glasses and.
Great.
Alright. So we'll update the packet. We are on a strict timeline because we have to get this out
Yeah.
and post it onto the website. And
yes,
we'll make sure that we update everything and get everything done, and then I'll circulate a copy
great,
to everybody of the completed packet.
great.
All right, if there are no further questions and or changes, we'd be looking for a motion to approve resolution number 2025-04, approving a proposed budget for fiscal year 2025 and 2026, setting a public hearing thereon. As I previously mentioned, the public hearing date is going to change on this. The public hearing will take place in August,
It's 25th,
on August 25th.
at 9:30 at this location.
Okay. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second by Cheryl. Yep. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
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 So that's all there.
The next item on the agenda is item number 6G, which is the discussion regarding preliminary questions to be sent to amenity managers.
I just sent everybody an email.
Okay.
About that, because I could not obviously send it in advance. And missed getting it into the agenda package. I was trying to get a bunch of questions that we could actually present to the amenity managers companies in advance, so we can get an idea of what types of, start the process. Because we're gonna be limited in terms of how much time we can talk to them. So I wanted to see if we can get some answers in advance, or at least have them answer these questions when they come. Because these are gonna be obviously vital to our decision-making process, and we're gonna have limited time to do that. So I figured as much as we can get to them in advance, and the more they can get us in advance, the better the more constructive our time will be when we are. So if anybody has any objections to any of these, any additions to these, I know it's last minute, but
So,
Do we know who's gonna be presenting?
well, Bobby Joe's Links is the one I've reached out to.
yeah, and I've talked to two companies. I've talked to Hampton Golf, and they're definitely coming. And I had also spoken to Coral Hospitality, and Coral is gonna decline to come. And the reason is they feel that they would only would have an interest in the property if they were gonna do all three pieces, if you will, of our thing, the HOA management, the government management, and the amenities management. And I said, look, at this time, thank you. So, so that was the answer on that. So I've only spoken to Hampton, and Hampton is definitely yes. I also did mention to Ginger Anzalone at Vesta, and I don't know yet whether they would plan to come that day or how they would handle a proposal based on that. So I'm only aware of Hampton then, right now.
Yeah, and Bobby Jones, so
Yeah.
we've got two, or possibly three. So we also need to come up with a schedule so we can contact them and notify them of who's gonna speak first, how long they're gonna speak in the process. I'm thinking that we should, kind of straddling with Ken's idea about having everybody in the room at once. I don't like that, but I do like the idea of being able to follow up with these people. So maybe speak to each one of them for an hour. Then as we learn information from, like, so the second person that we did not ask the first person, we then come back for rounds of 15 minutes afterwards, so we can then follow up with them. So an hour each, then a 15-minute follow or 20-minute follow each. So we can make sure that we get the same information from all people.
So not a formal process, just a casual process.
Well, no, they're gonna present, like Bobby Jones said, do you want a PowerPoint? I said, I don't.
This isn't a formal RFP, is what
No,
it
it's,
is.
no,
Yes,
it's like a
that's
tire
fine.
kicking, I think.
It's a tire kicking, it's a casual tire
Yeah.
kicking process, but you're gonna ask them to stay for an hour and then wait through the other ones and then come back for 15 minutes?
Well, and let me just throw in there, because we had discussed this some time ago. I reserved Il Pranzare. I figured we could set up some catering, going back to my days, to shop out parts of the company. We could set it up in there as like a hospitality room, and so, we could have one group, one group.
So there's
one
two?
company. There are two.
The two.
Well,
Or
possibly
the-
if, I
And
don't
Vesta.
know what Ginger's decided, if she wants to participate in that piece of it, or they would just do the proposal, assuming they would want to, but, I assume they do, so, it's really two.
I don't want to interrupt, but I think you already know this, but, I mean, you can ask the other one to wait outside, they don't have to.
Correct.
They
I
could
think they
say,
would want to.
don't, I think they would want to, and they will respect it, and I've never seen anybody not, okay?
No.
What if they stomped the
That's
speed up
public.
and down and said, I get to
Yes,
stay?
exactly,
They
Okay.
get to stay.
No, I get
exactly,
that,
which
but-
is why I had wanted to reserve that room, and it's reserved until like 3 o'clock that
But it's, we prefer to have them each one talk, so that the other one's not listening and then, modifying their presentation based upon what the first person said and giving us.
And most firms, in my experience, I'm sure Belinda's have been courteous, whatever your process is.
So when I spoke to Bobby Jones about that, he was very happy with that. He has no problem staying. He said, if you want us to stay for 2 hours, 3 hours, and keep coming back or whatever it is, it's important for us to want to do the business, so we'll.
And what
We'll make the
Hampton
time.
said to me is they like that format. They think because, they'll have questions for us as well.
Well, I certainly hope that Ginger participates, because I think, in all fairness to
Yes.
a brand new GM,
Yes.
who, I mean, I think that
Yeah.
Vesta needs to participate.
I agree.
Yeah.
100% agree.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Not that there's, implication that personnel are changing, but, so I had a chance to read through your, stuff, Rich. Maybe I can just ask, do you have anything in here asking questions about reporting, that sort of thing? Is there anything in here
No,
about that?
like I said, I just started drafting some things up. It was the things that I was thinking about, so,
Who would we send additions to?
excuse me?
If we have additional questions, can I send them to you?
Probably either Belinda or Laura.
You'd
Yeah.
have to send them to Belinda.
Yeah, how do we get
That's
this?
how-
You would need to send it to me.
And then I give
Okay.
you the names of the different contacts and you send it to them?
No,
I would just deal with the portion of the board asking additional questions. I would send them over to you without you knowing, obviously, who's submitted the questions.
Okay, got it,
And
okay.
then you would add them to the list to be sent to the
Okay.
vendor.
So can everybody plan looking at this for the next 2 days?
Mhm.
And
we gotta get it out by the end of the
and
week.
get it up by, let's say Friday noon, get it to Belinda by Friday morning.
Mhm.
So by Friday noon, I can get mine out to Bobby Jones and Jules can get hers out to the people at Hampton, because I don't know who they are. And then we can send, and you can send it to Ginger as well.
Yes, I will.
And this way, everybody has the opportunity
Yes,
the same opportunities of what they're doing.
yes, correct.
You send them to Vesta.
Hmm?
Who's gonna send
I'm
them?
taking care of that. The only other question, because I think we're gonna be asked it, is, when we're gonna make a decision, and I assume we're making a decision in July.
What decision? We haven't done that.
Well, no, if we're gonna make a decision to do something or not.
Oh.
If we are going to make a decision to do something or not, which not doing something is making a decision. We will be asked that, is my only point. So.
Yeah, and I guess I would formally say I still have a concern about this, so,
Okay.
and you guys
sure.
know that, I've said
Sure,
it before.
yes,
But I think the
absolutely.
timing is off, and,
Okay.
Yeah, I do too.
yeah. well,
All right, so we are gonna get back to Belinda with any additions.
Yes.
Okay,
And then Belinda will circulate the final list. You can send it to the vendor you've been dealing with, and you can send it to the vendor you've been.
yeah, and I think
And
it
did I
needs
send
to
it
go
to,
to
did I send
everybody.
this to you did I send it to you this morning?
I haven't seen anything.
Okay, then let me send it to you and Andy this, I did not do that.
Okay.
Okay, and so just so we're clear on logistics, I'll take care of, we need to talk about timing of the day. So are we starting, we're noticed to start at 8:30 or 9:30?
8:30.
8:30? Okay. do we want
This is the
to,
23rd?
yes, do we want to, and since it's a workshop, how do we want to handle?
So we have to figure out who's coming, we have to notify the people who's gonna come first, so obviously one person's gotta come.
Yeah. Doesn't matter to me. Shall I just tell Hampton to come first?
I don't care, that's fine.
Okay.
So Hampton,
And I will talk to Ginger as well and see what
Okay,
she's
great.
decided.
so Hampton comes at 9:30, at 8:30?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have Bobby Jones come at 9:30? Or 9:45, give an hour 15?
Mhm.
Vesta,
Then Vesta at
Pataki
11.
Vesta at 11,
Okay.
and then 15 minutes thereafter, 15 to 20 minutes thereafter. Yes?
Works for me.
Works for me.
Okay.
Just so there isn't a question, then I'll take care of, how we handle refreshments, et cetera, for the side room there, and we also need to have somebody clear through the gate, so I guess you'll take care of,
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
okay.
Hopefully they can get it anyway.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay. Can we move on?
Mhm.
We're gonna now move into the discussion regarding Vesta's financials, expenses, and budget.
Yeah, that's me. So I've sent everybody copies of updated credit cards and whatever else. This is an email that I received from the folks at Vesta in response to my questions, concerns, issues, whatever else,
Oh, dear.
continually. And
You don't
basically-
have an extra one with us, do you?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I got one, I've got one in case you
Take
need.
one and pass it down to Council.
So in a nutshell, basically Vesta is denying anything wrong. Everything is above board, everything is as should be. There's an excuse and justification for virtually everything that they've given. In the months of March and April, and basically it's Julie's credit card expenses exceed $10,000 for those 2 months combined. If you ask me, I would say 80% of them are not justified. A lot of the items on her credit card take place up in Brandon or in Tampa on Sunday night and include items such as hot soup, berries, produce, canned soup, boar's head cold cuts, eggs, American cheese, specialty cheeses, prosciutto, Italian meat sample platters, bacon, pate, prepared salads, prepared foods, stuffed peppers, a 50-ounce cans of tuna, platter wraps, boxes of Jell-O, Nan bites, hummus, tzatziki, cases of Red Bull energy drinks, cases of protein drinks, a couple pounds of salmon, Glade Auto air refresheners, a jar of mayonnaise, Arnold bread, cases of Snapple, many packs of soda, which we don't use, 6 3-liter boxes of Pinot Grigio, not bottles, mandarin oranges, numerous arrangements of dozens of roses by the dozen consistently, heating pads, bath mats, bath towels, just to name a few. I questioned the Dorino's Bakery on the cookies that they bought for $327, for $225. What they forgot to do is explain the Marino's Bakery 2 days prior to that, where they bought lasagna, meat pies, and rugelach. The same day as the Palmera event, but didn't come here. The Marino's Bakery, they claimed, was used for the ladies' golf event, the 3-9 breakfast buffet, the 4-6 breakfast buffet, the barbecue buffet, and Easter. Well, I've spoken to a lot of people at the ladies' event, They never saw the cookies. The cookies got, all the desserts got plated by the chef, and he didn't put cookies on the plate. If they were frozen, he would have seen them in his freezer. He would have had to defrost them and plate them and inventory them. He did none of the above. The 3-9 breakfast buffet was not on 3-9, it was 3-2. So the cookies were bought at 3-7. So if this is Vesta's deep analysis of corroboration of all of the management people together to understand this, how do cookies be purchased on 3-7, be used on 3-2, but you told me they were bought, used on 3-9? So that makes no sense. Toffee to go, constantly several purchases of toffee to go purchases, 8 half-pound boxes for $176 with 8 pound for that case. You could buy 2 2-pound boxes for $112. So if you're really going to put them on our buffets, why would you not buy the large boxes for a cheaper price versus buying all the small boxes that were given out to like residents all along? That makes no sense. They told us that the Paisano's Bakery was on Saturday, 4/19. The receipt that we have through the Vesta system says 4/18. Based upon how credit cards are processed, the receipt is the actual purchase was probably on 4/17. I have not gotten that receipt. I've asked for it and it has not come. So they're claiming that they bought bread on Thursday used for Easter Sunday. Last time I checked, bread goes stale in 4 days. And nobody saw those cookies. Asaro's. They went to Asaro's on 2/26 to do a pizza test, a menu test for pizza. They bought chicken parmesan, spaghetti and meatballs, pasta visual soup, no pizza. So if you're doing a pizza test, I think you should order pizza. To make sure they got it right, they went back on 3/10 on game night when we were serving pizza to order, again, a chicken parmesan, a spaghetti meatballs, 2 spaghetti meatballs, a rigatoni alla vodka, and 1 slice. 1 slice does not make a test. And then to make sure they got it right, they went back to Asaro's again on 3/21, again on game night, to order spaghetti meatballs and chicken parmesan and 1 slice. This is not people testing food, this is people ordering food for themselves and whatever. The Norman Love chocolates that nobody saw that they claimed was for Mother's Day was purchased several weeks before Mother's Day, like 6 weeks before Mother's Day. It was a $30 box of 10 pieces. We're talking $3 a piece of chocolate and 2 pieces of bunny bark, small little boxes of chocolate bark that had chocolate covered pretzels and jelly beans on top. I don't think that was for Mother's Day. That was probably for Easter, but even still, you don't buy 2 little boxes of chocolate and chocolate at $10 a piece to put on a buffet that nobody saw. The macarons that we bought that were used for Mother's Day, they were $4 a piece. 60 macarons for 240 people at Mother's Day at $4 a piece? I don't think so. The chef never had them in his freezer for all the weeks we needed to store them. He never frozen, defrosted them, plated them, or inventoried them. These are not as it. So where is all this food going? Zips Cleaners. It says in our GL, the Zips Cleaners was for cleaning of tablecloths, except the receipt is for 15 pieces of clothes. It says men's pants, creased and starched all. The second receipt for $53, the description was intentionally cut off the bottom. I have not seen that receipt. So you tell me how any of this has to do with any of our stuff here, because if you're gonna buy berries on Sunday night in Brandon, we don't serve food again until Wednesday. So even if you wanna make the case potentially it's ours, it's bad by then. And last time I checked, we have a Publix a mile and a half away from here, that if we need berries on Wednesday, we can actually go buy berries on Wednesday as opposed to buy them in Brandon on Sunday night. The chef never saw any of this food, and we're talking thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of things that don't belong here. I've questioned Vesta. Like I said, they denied it. They try to make excuses for it. Their dates are wrong, their facts are wrong, their information is wrong, their excuses are wrong. And I think that we have a serious problem. And I tried to resolve this privately because I didn't want to do this publicly. And I don't see how this happens. And the shocking takeaway of all of this too is Vesta's system takes the credit card, automatically uploads the cost to the system. The person in charge then says what it is. Vesta never sees the actual copy of the receipt of what it was purchased, of what the purchases were from the store. And it gets approved by the manager, but being that Julie has no manager, it's not getting approved by anybody. And this is just 2 months worth. Now that I'm, it was $6,000 in March, $6,000 in February, $4,000 in March, and now that I said something, in April, $800. March and April, $600 in March, and now we made $800. When Bernard was here, we had nothing like this. Prior to that, before Bernard was here, it's there, and there are just all these little postings in the GL that say Vesta passed through. Vesta passed through in every single account with no breakdown, no detail, no anything, so it was missed for years. Because nobody ever questioned what all these Vesta pass-through charges were, and they're significant. And I think we have a serious problem. Like I said, we're talking, could be $8,000 in these 2 months alone. I don't have January receipts, so I don't know what's going on in January. And I don't have receipts going back to the beginning of 2024, which I requested, because I wanted to see what last year looked like before Bernard was here, and I haven't gotten any of that either. So I requested, so a lot of the receipts were obscured, folded, cut, missing information. I asked for those. I haven't received anything from that. Today's Wednesday. I sent some on Friday. I sent some over the weekend. So in 2 days, I had Monday and Tuesday to actually make a photocopy of the receipt. Haven't received that. And I think we have, and I don't know how to proceed with this, but we're talking, if this pattern exists for 2 years, it could be $50,000. I don't know.
I don't know that I'd want to speculate on a number. I will tell you, my reaction looking at the receipts were that a number of the receipts contained a couple things like flowers that could be used here, but then I spotted the 2 jars of Rayo's soup myself, a lot of soda, a lot of Snapple.
That's what I'm saying.
I think for me, the larger issue is the amount of money in February and March, which was over $10,000. And I'm bothered especially by it because we're so far behind on the food and beverage operating line. We're $85,000. At least we were in April. We were $85,000 negative to budget.
And when I started asking the chef about these questions, I said, did you have these things? He goes, why? And I explained to him, he goes, is that hitting my food budget? And I said, according to the jail, it is, which now explains why he can't keep to his budget. And he's, and he actually also never sees the budget. He's never given the budget. He doesn't ever see what goes into his costs. He says he strives for 44, but we're at 53. Well, when you add $10,000 in 2 months to $30,000 of purchases, that will surely do it.
I've given you my opinion.
What is Vesta? Has Vesta responded?
Well, that's the email. That's the response was,
Nothing.
that's what this is. It's all the excuses of, we take it seriously, we appreciate you this, and then they gave the excuses of the top fee, the Pizzanos, with all of the dates and information and excuses that are implausible to impossible.
So there's a lot happening here. So,
Yes.
there is.
Yes.
So just bear with me for a minute. To me, we don't want to strangle our process, correct? Because there are times where things need to happen. We've got to let Vesta do what they need to do. However, this is something that I brought up at the last meeting in where are the internal controls on Vesta's part to make sure that when I see 1, 2, 3 cases of Coke, Sprite, and then 3 other cases of Dasani, which we don't serve bottled pop here, right?
No.
Everything's out of a well.
Do we serve Red Bull? Do we use Red Bull?
Not that I've seen.
No.
Okay, so where are what controls
Well-
need to be put in place? Now, like I said, I don't want to
Okay.
strangle the
Well,
process
actually,
for Kelso.
I did get some, I got like last night information from Stephanie's credit card, but Stephanie has a card. Now Stephanie's card, for the most part, makes sense because she is running out and getting carrots and
Okay.
small stuff, local, and that makes sense. And it's $20 here, it's $40 there. The only one charge I didn't understand is I can't figure out is she had to go out and buy 3 bottles of wine from Publix for $15 that you could buy the total.
Well, they
wine
might
for.
have had a last
Yeah.
minute emergency.
Yeah.
So
yes.
that could be it, but
Yes.
that was the only questionable one that I saw on her credit cards. Everything else that was purchased through hers was gluten-free pasta, 2 boxes of gluten-free, and
So,
pasta and some produce and berries, and that makes perfect sense, because I know Bernard set that up.
Right,
yes,
right.
yes, absolutely. Who's got credit cards here? Is it just, they're using personal credit cards and then
No.
doing a pass-through, or
No,
do we have
they've got,
Vesta credit cards, and then they are deciding and choosing to pass through the charges to the River Club?
correct, that's as best as I can tell. And like I said, the credit card charges on the personal credit card got automatically uploaded to the Navan system. The Navan system then codes it the best it can based upon who's buying it and what the purpose appears to be from the store. Then an employee is supposed to then go in, verify it, and then code it and put the account to it, and then the system goes through, but nobody sees the actual receipt.
No one sees the receipt, and no one goes through an approval process. That is just.
Well, Stephanie, there might be one for Stephanie, I don't know that. I didn't ask Stephanie, I just got hers last
So
night.
that's a flaw in the Vesta system, a serious flaw
It is a serious one.
Because
in the Vesta system.
Because every other expense, like the Amazon account charges come through here.
Yes,
Frank Gay, air conditioning, the pool, all those things come
come through
here.
here.
But the credit card stuff, off premises, out of sight, out of mind, fortunately automatically approved regardless of any sense of anything. And like I said, I mean, just,
So do we have the opportunity to say, we're only accepting charges from these credit cards within Vesta? And
well, but I think we have a bigger issue like this.
I agree. I'm just trying to think about future controls in place.
Right, but here's one, it's like, the day before this is a Monday, February 24th, the day before the Lake Spur event. They bought
For the what,
the
Richard?
Lake Spur, one of the offsite events
One of the
that
offsite
happened here.
events. Gotcha.
Mixed nuts, chicken, 3 dried salamis, red grapes, green grapes, smoked Gouda, a cookie tray, brie, manchego cheese, Gouda, blackberries, strawberries, Aquafina, more pepperoni, more and a wrap tray, and 2 things of roses on a Monday, right before the Lake Spur event. And then there's other stuff now purchased in Welland Park on the day of the Lake Spur event, that napkins, plastic goods, and whatever else, but they're telling us, no, that had nothing to do with this. I don't see why we need gold count plastic spoons at the River Club purchased in Welland Park on Tuesday, an hour before the Lake Spur event. But according to Vesta, that's no more purchases. So they're getting ready for an event that they're hosting, but I'm supposed to believe that they're taking time out of the day to buy something for an event for us 3 weeks after, 3 weeks later.
Well, and it's not just this though, it's the payroll that the hourly payroll that was associated with that was then booked to our account.
Stephen and.
It was Stephen and,
Stephen
okay, so it
and-
wasn't
yeah,
hourly people,
yeah.
okay,
Stephanie was the only person that has gone out. Like I said,
Okay.
Stephanie's stuff appears to be,
okay.
I don't see a problem with that.
Well, my question is, what do we do with this?
Yes.
Because I come back to sort of the 5,000
Yeah.
foot level, which is.
That was my question.
I'm bothered by the amount of the expenses that are, I look at a box of chocolate for however much that was, $60. Whatever it was, $3, it was $3 for a piece of chocolate, that's not intended for anything here.
And you don't buy half-pound boxes of toffee Unless you
Well,
take,
the
unless,
toffee
unless
is
you give,
$30 a pound,
unless you
but
give it a
we're
max,
not.
$44 a pound for
So-
toffee, I mean, you can go buy Russell Stover, for less money, but you don't buy $44 box, $44 a pound, $22 a box of toffee to be putting out on a display that nobody saw.
So what do you think we should
Yeah.
be doing with?
Here's my problem. I've given, if you read this, okay, so if you read Vesta's very long diatribe here, they're basically delaying the responsibility. So I don't know, going back to Vesta again, one more time to what was gonna make much difference. I think this is serious. I think there's, we're talking, we have a fiduciary responsibility and we're a government. I think there's tens of thousands of dollars here that are incredibly questionable.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yes.
Sorry. I'd almost like some advice from council here,
Yeah.
because you're making some very serious
Allegations.
accusations publicly that we need a process where we can also hear from Vesta directly. And Andy, I guess I'd like to hear from you before we go much further with these public accusations.
Sure.
How this should be handled.
Well, I mean, I've had a couple of discussions with Rich. I think that unfortunately, we're in a position where, Rich has his views, Vesta has already responded with their views, and they may have more of a response, I don't know. Vesta's not gonna just accept what Rich is saying, and Rich is not gonna accept, and this board most likely is not just gonna accept what Vesta's saying. So I'm not 100% sure where to go, but it might involve a third party, an independent third party.
I think that's right.
And something Belinda and I have discussed is that, we are CDD, we are public form of government, we have an auditor who audits the financial statements. And it may be the involvement of an auditor or some sort of third party
It's a good idea.
accountant or something like that we
Yeah,
retain.
this is a different type of audit.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I'm just
Than
thinking.
what the auditors do for our books.
Absolutely. I'm just thinking it might involve an independent third party, because neither one of the sides is gonna just go, oh, I accept what you said. We've reached a point in the relationship where the parties are not trusting each other.
I absolutely think that it should be an independent
Yes.
audit,
Yes.
but I think it should be an independent audit with a request for where are the flaws in the process? And that
Yes.
can be done to
Tighten up the
fix the
process.
process. Because, I obviously worked at a big company and these receipts they'd have gotten kicked back to me in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, in a hot minute.
I would have never gotten.
I wouldn't have gotten
it
it
through.
through
So
the
there's something
automated
flawed in the
system.
process. I'm not saying anything's,
I would have fired somebody if they.
well, I'm not saying anything's wrong with the charges, because I wouldn't make that accusation. But we need an audit and we need a better process of understanding what the charges are
100%.
for and what the controls are. So that's what I would request.
I 100% agree with that.
I mean, I don't have the answer. I don't have the party.
I've just got
to recommend
one
it.
question.
The controls are just one piece of it.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you look at it, when I was getting divorced, I had to get a forensic accountant. All the forensic accountant can do is look at it and make his judgment. Until you bring this further than that, it's just it's gonna be his opinion versus somebody else's opinion, and it's not gonna get you very far.
But it has to be an independent
Okay,
audit.
that's
It has to be
It
an
can't
independent audit,
where
and then
things
they can also determine where the flaws are at and make recommendations to Vesta on how to put these tighter controls in place, because, I look at these and these wouldn't have gone anywhere past, like, my desk. It wouldn't just gotten all the way through like that at all.
Can we ask our auditor for a proposal on how they would do this?
Great.
They would
I know we went up and back a couple of times.
It's grab.
And we're going to need the balance of these actual receipts. Because some of these receipts are not actual receipts.
Well, I think that the auditor would do that. I mean,
Yeah.
let the auditor
Yeah,
do that.
absolutely.
I mean, at this point, I think we need to
Well,
go.
she's got,
Let's give it to
Melissa's
the
gonna have to
auditor.
get them, so she might as well start having them. I would still like to have them myself. But you
You
can,
gotta lay out the scope. You
And
gotta
that's
lay
what
out
I-
the scope of the audit.
That's what I was just gonna say, Ken, because we've gotta isolate the audit to this, and you know, you did almost every receipt, an auditor's not gonna do that, they're gonna, it's an
Sample.
audit,
well, there's
they're gonna
not,
sample.
but there's not that many receipts. I mean, that's it. I mean,
Okay,
that's it.
okay,
But this doesn't count the Amazon account, which is a whole nother story,
Yeah.
but that, you know, so there's a whole other issue on that side of it too. But for this purpose,
I think for the scope of the audit, if
you've
your
got-
concerns were in February and March, maybe the scope of the audit is review February and March.
Mhm.
Expenses that were approved, for inconsistencies, for concerns, and for procedures that
Controls.
could be applied to make the process better.
and we're isolating this to the pass-through and Amazon, so it's
Well,
not like a
I
global
wouldn't
audit,
even do Amazon right now.
Okay,
because that-
okay.
Because looking at Amazon, I mean,
just the pass-through.
I've actually downloaded all the Amazon stuff, and there's some weird stuff. That's gonna be a lot harder to really, to truly determine. There are some bizarre things, but
Okay.
in terms of sheer dollars, this far exceeds it in terms of total purchases. And I think this is a lot more cut and dry than the Amazon stuff, which is why I didn't bring it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think you leave the scope there. Let's get a proposal from the auditor and see where this goes, but yeah.
Now,
And who's doing that?
Well, I think the was gonna reach
Okay.
I was
out,
gonna ask the auditor.
but do you want a board member?
Okay. I'll be sure I understood.
Because some of this might be perfectly fine, just not what we expect, or,
Well, I will tell you, I don't like being told that we're having tablecloths cleaned in Tampa, and then it says on the receipt, it's men's clothing.
except that, how many times have you, I'm not gonna make any assumptions.
Just say- I'm
Because
just
how many
saying.
times have you gotten a
Just
receipt that has not had the right thing on it for what you had done? Now, nor here nor there, but I would like to have a full audit.
I agree with you, I'm 100% agree. 100% agree. Okay, let's move on.
so who's gonna be the liaison for that?
Linda, are you gonna ask the auditor?
I'm gonna ask the auditor, I'll probably ask for a call with Vanessa. And, I'll report back to the board once I hear back from the auditor.
Thank you.
That works.
But like I said, but short of the audit, I would like to see, I would still do want to see those other receipts, because we're still entitled to them. So I want to see the actual receipts.
Well, I think I'm guessing that will come as a result of,
Well, shouldn't have to wait for the audit. We're entitled to them.
well, do you want to ask for them?
I
or-
did, I have.
Okay, all right, well,
I've
somebody
asked
asked
for
for
them,
them.
yeah, I've asked for them, and I'm asking again, I want the balance of those receipts. So I want to see what we're not seeing.
Okay,
I think it would make, I personally, Rich, I think it would make more sense to wait till the auditor looks at it and then see if the balance of the receipts are, because you're still not gonna
Oh,
do anything.
I'm not gonna do anything about it,
But you're creating a lot of work for something we're not gonna do.
they still have to be generated for the auditor. I'm just asking.
They
for-
might not be,
Maybe,
they're
maybe
doing it
not, that's
random.
not, maybe the
Yeah.
auditor would do a random.
Yeah,
So I just,
Well, I still want to see, but I still want to say it. After we spending the amount of time I did uncovering all of this,
yeah, that was a lot of work.
I want to know what I don't know. And I want to see it, so.
It's our place to audit them. I think it needs to be done independently.
I do too, it's not our place to do this, that's been my concern all along.
Well, nobody's been doing it before, so it's gotta get done.
Yeah,
I think Rich did a nice
Yes, I
job
agree.
of digging
Yeah,
it's a lot of
in
work.
and
No question.
questioning, because we do have a fiduciary responsibility to this
Absolutely.
entire community.
Yes,
So
we do.
while it might not have been, like, you brought it to the attention, now I think it's a good time to hand it off to a third party and let
Yep.
them do what they need to do.
Yes.
yeah, well said. Yep. All right.
Okay. Moving on, we are gonna move into item number I, which is the discussion regarding the repairs to the copper roof clock tower. Rich, you wanted to,
Yeah, actually, I don't have a quote on that yet. We're gonna have to, so when the painter comes who's doing work, we identified there's an issue in the copper in the clock tower. The spire's got a big, huge gaping crack in it. So, when they're up there doing some of the other repairs, wrapping around the, fascia, they're gonna look at that and get us a quote and probably be T&M kind of thing, but we don't know what it is we're dealing with until we can physically get up there, and the only way to get up there is from the outside, you can't do it from the inside. And we need to, we gotta, have to wait for it to be on the lift, so just another thing that needs to get fixed here.
And just so I'm clear, so is it the painter who would do that?
Well, he's not just painting, he's a general contractor.
Oh, okay, all right, so he's the one who
So
would,
artistry, so artistry painting was a painter. Several years ago, he became a general contractor.
Okay.
So he's got a stucco guy, he's got the lift, he's got the carpenters, he's got the whole bit. So
okay.
he was the person that we also got, just got a ballpark price on the screens, just the screening out.
Okay,
So
Great.
they're a general contractor to do a
Great.
lot of work. He's also gonna fix this, so they're not just a painter. So we needed more than a painter because
Got it.
of
We
all
have
the
a
repairs.
provision in the contract for change orders too.
okay.
Oh, yeah, speaking of which, so when we start on Monday, we need to figure out who is going to be able to authorize change orders and up to what amount, because and it really can't even be amount, because if somebody says, I got a $20,000 thing here, we can't first wait 3 weeks for a board meeting to approve it. He's up there with the scaffold. I mean, we need, it's, and then, not that I'm expecting anything like that, but I'm just saying we need to determine, me, Tim, Kelso, I don't know who is gonna approve
Tim has
change
no
orders.
agency, so-
Okay.
Change orders, so within the rules though, change orders above a certain amount can't be up to,
Back to the spending.
back to the spending.
Yeah,
I think we
Cancel
will
it.
follow the
Also can be
spending
changed.
resolution, for the River Club, which, I believe Jill has the ability to approve something, out for non-continuing, but
What, up to 10?
is it up to 10? Did I say it?
Forgot.
Yeah, it was, non-continuing up to 10, chair or vice chair.
So,
Okay.
so it can't,
Right.
so I don't know if you two want to be doing this, or you want me to give me a temporary authority just for this project, if you can. I don't know what the rules are.
Well, the resolution provides for the chair
Yeah.
or vice chair.
Right.
So that when the change order comes in, you can just,
Then Tim or Kelso will
You
have
can
to
have
get
it
to either me or if I'm
forwarded.
not available, Cheryl. Okay.
correct, and then she
Okay.
can sign off, and then we would need a copy of the executed change order so that we can put it in the
Okay.
agenda for ratification.
Okay,
And if it's over 10, it's gonna have to wait.
I'm not foreseeing anything over that. I have a ballpark figure, worst case scenario on, like, let's say the major stucco job for the whole front tower. So it's well under that, so we should not have any $10,000 issues.
That would be good.
I'm hoping not to have a lot of $5,000 issues.
Right,
I'm hoping to
that
have a
would be
couple, I'm hoping to have a couple $1,000 issues here and there, but that's it,
Okay.
and nothing more.
thank you.
And speaking of roofs, do we need to do anything about this?
Yes, we need to, yes.
The West Wall,
Westfall, yes.
okay?
Westfall roofing. They came here and determined, our existing roofer, his contract expired, but he ordered one more inspection, came here, did the inspection, took 6 weeks to get the report. And then Tim and I noticed some issues that were not on the report and whatever else. So then we saw all the issues going on with the tower. So we called in a couple of the roofers, two would come. Westfall came, they came up with a drone. They did all the stuff, came back down and said a lot of the work that was done previously was not done properly. You can't repair you can't you can't repair a broken tile that's broken more than 2 places or broken here. And he showed us all of these pictures, all of these improper repairs, showed us all these pictures of major tile breakages. So he gave us a quote, then we came back and we had the leak last week about the flat roof. So that's now, so he said the flat roof has all the flashing on the entire perimeter of the flat roof above the kitchen is all dried out, and the caulking by the equipment is all dried out. Why that wasn't picked up by our existing maintenance company, our old roofing company maintenance, they missed it. So that's what this is. We're hoping that these fixes solve the flat roof problem now for a while, but the flat roof now is about 20 years old at its life expectancy. So he said, so we're getting quotes going further to then replace all 3 flat roofs, because that's gonna have to happen. Doesn't have to happen tomorrow.
Right.
We're hoping that these repairs fix the issue with the leaking of the flat roof that we have now. He's also included some extra work over above the accounting office where we think that leak might be coming from. Hopefully we can identify that, and that's also included in this quote. So they seem very thorough, very whatever. When we asked them about the tower, the copper, and because we're not the best company for that. So they know their limitations, which I also like, as opposed to taking something on just to make some money.
Right, okay.
So
you're looking for a motion on this one?
and then once they do all the repair work, they'll give us a quote as for a maintenance contract.
Okay.
Going forward, but they won't do that until everything is up to snuff.
Is that the guardhouse as well?
No. Was there a problem with the guardhouse?
No, just.
No. Oh, you mean in terms of maintenance? Oh, yeah, we can add the guardhouse in terms of maintenance. Well, we should add it, we can have them look at all the outbuildings.
I think we should add the tiki bar and the
Yeah,
shop.
we can do all that. When we get to that point, we will add everything to a maintenance contract.
So when they do tile replacement, obviously because these tiles are extinct, are,
Closest match color possible.
okay, thank you. All right.
It won't be perfect, and especially even if it was the exact same tile, you got a tile that's been sitting
on the sun
for 20 years versus a tile that's brand new.
Because I know, I mean, this is why people, all the roofs are extinct.
Yeah, and I think what we have done, if I remember correctly in the past, what we have done, if there's an issue, for example, on the front, is they've tried to swap out tiles from the back, so that at least it doesn't look like, Mr. Haney's place.
And I had that done in my house. After Ian, I had some broken tiles,
Okay.
and he put all, and I said, I had the exact same thing.
Okay, all right,
so you need a motion on
You
this.
need a motion, huh?
And I will prepare a contract.
And, okay.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion that we accept the Westfall roofing proposal for 9215, subject to preparation of contract by council.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
And I thought 10 cent racket, that wasn't bad.
No, you have no idea how many hours we've been spending on these things.
Well, it's appreciated.
It is very much appreciated.
Thank God for Tim too, especially.
Yes,
Oh,
and Tim.
absolutely.
Without a doubt.
There's a lot of the work that we're doing now is because the work was not done. I mean,
Okay.
the old pool vendor
Yeah,
versus the new pool vendor.
yes.
Our air conditioning systems, our roofing,
Yeah, that's
I mean,
one
all
we
these
gotta
things
go.
are,
Okay. We now have item number 6L, which is the ratification of the approval of the LMP annuals replacement proposal. This is behind tab number 8 for your review. We're only asking for ratification on this one. I did ask Keith to forward the proposal to Jill for signature.
Yes.
So that we could have the annuals
Okay.
installed on time. So if there are no questions, we've been looking for a motion to ratify.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Cheryl, second by Cindy. Any further discussion?
just a quick question, I guess maybe from Ellen. Is there not a better way that we could do something than constantly replacing annuals several times a year to save some money? Is there nothing?
It won't be as pretty. There's nothing you can do that is gonna look as nice as the replacement that we do on an every several month basis. I mean, we've talked about it in the landscape committee at length. And, do you think people complain now about there not being a wow factor?
No, I'm
It gives it the wow.
I'm
you
just
know?
asking the
Yeah.
question because,
No,
you know,
we've talked about it a
It's-
lot.
Yeah, it has been.
there's too much
yeah.
stuff. I mean, the stuff gets, we spent a lot of money and it doesn't seem to last very long and it die and we're,
Yeah.
Hopefully, when we redo the whole middle corridor from the entrance down, we'll have a plan that will incorporate something that maybe won't require as much. But right now, aside from
Okay.
sodding, that's okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay. Moving on to item number 7A, which is the consideration of the minutes of the Board of Supervisors meeting held on April 28th, 2025. These are behind tab number 9 for your review. Are there any questions, comments, and/or changes to the minutes as presented?
I had submitted some changes. I don't know if they're in what's on the computer.
No, they're printed.
So I just had a few revisions to both minutes. Nothing was any, there were just little typos and stuff. Nothing's good.
And I have little typos too, so I don't,
Me
you want me
too.
just to send them to
They're
you?
probably the same.
We'll just send them to you.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can just give, well, no, I was in for another one. We'll wait till we get there.
So if we want, we could just approve them as amended or in substantial form.
Right, and then, yeah.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
For what Andy said.
Cheryl?
How will we get, wait a minute, how will we get changes to you?
We're just gonna email them to
You're
Belinda.
gonna have to fly here, Ken.
Yeah, you'll have to email them to me.
Okay, might be worth it. I did have something more substantive, on lines 373 through 377. Trying to find it again. We talked about, I just wanted to make it clear that there ought to be some clarity that I had said that I agreed that the repairs needed to be made and was only questioning the repainting of the entire building. I wasn't questioning whether the repairs warranted the expense.
I see.
Okay.
Well, just tell Belinda what you wanted to say then, right?
That I was questioning more the need for the entire building being repainted.
Belinda, do you want Ken to email you?
I didn't disagree with either the repairs being warranted or the urgency of them. Only the repainting of the
Well,
entire
why don't we
building.
just say Mr. Samaha, expressed concern over the timing of repainting the club, but did not question the repairs.
That's fine.
Okay. Any other changes?
Not on that one.
So we had a motion. Do we have a second?
Sure, yep.
Jill? Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Ken? We now have the consideration of the minutes of the Board of Supervisors meeting held on May 12th, 2025. These are behind tab number 10 for your review. Any questions, comments, and/or changes to the minutes as
I
presented?
had some minor things again, but nothing substantive.
Yeah, I had something minor, I can just give it to you, Belinda. It's interesting, it says in the 11th order of business, I can hand it to you. It said I suggested that we bundle the proposal for G&L geothermal together with the aerobic room renovation, which sort of cracked me up. I think I had raised that Rich was supposed to bring up the geothermal proposal that we had not, had not been brought up. So I can just rewrite this as to what my comment was, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's fine. Any additional changes?
I'll email you. The typos.
Ms. Melanson.
Yeah, that was one.
Oh, I saw that one too.
Couple places.
Okay.
Incognito.
Alright. If there are no further changes, we'd be looking for a motion to approve, subject to changes as noted on the record.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Cheryl?
Yep.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
We now have the consideration of the minutes of the budget workshop meeting held on May 21st, 2025. These are behind tab number 11 for your review. Are there any questions, comments, and/or changes to the minutes as presented?
I have a couple. One is, I think Miss Melissa should be Miss Patton. And that's probably just a search and replace. And then on 177, line 177.
Yeah.
Do you mean Valentine? It's Valentine, which was kind of cute, but Mr. Valentine, I think it's Valentine. And then my last one is 244, because it was my comment. Says an issue with public lighting on Siltadella. It's actually, it was headlights.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If there are no further changes, we'd be looking for a motion to approve, subject to changes as noted on the record.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Jill, second by Cindy. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Oh, aye.
Ken?
Okay.
We now have the ratification of the operations and maintenance expenditures for the month of April 2025. These are behind tab number 12 for your review. The expenditures for the period of April 1st through 31st totals to $134,802.53. Any questions? If there are no questions, we'd be looking for a motion to ratify.
Motion.
Motion by Rich, second by Cindy. Jill. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
We're going to move into consent items. We do have 6 consent items for your acceptance. Any questions? If there are no questions, we'd be looking for a motion to accept the consent items as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Ken? Ken? Did we lose you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
No.
Just say aye.
Just say aye. Advisory Committee Liaison Reports, any reports? No? Supervisor requests or comments, are there any supervisor requests or comments?
I just wanted to make one quick thing to Cheryl about, Juniper and Laurel Road. I still feel strongly that we really need to seriously think about a fence. On the west from the Western Monument coming up to the front gate, I'm really concerned that plants are just not going to keep people out. So I don't know what we do with that, but I just remain concerned about an adequate barrier there.
It's big lizards.
And the big lizards. I know.
Yeah, the monitor lizard.
Thanks, Cindy.
I mean, he has put in stuff with prickly stuff that people will have a hard time going through. And, they could just walk through the front street at night and walk over. And there's no way,
Siltadella, I mean,
there's no way to completely
you-
barricade this property.
Okay.
yeah, you look on the Siltadella, I mean,
Yeah.
in between the gates, or limbo underneath it.
If we're gonna put a fence in, it needed to be done before.
No, I know. I believe me, I get it, and we had talked about it, but I just wanted to raise it again, because I know people on Treviso are concerned, because they are
Yes.
getting trespassers.
Mhm.
And not even coming in on gators.
Any other supervisor requests or comments? It is 1:00 PM. Is there a motion to adjourn?
But Kelso, I just got a text from the painter. If you could just please, he says if you want to start on Monday, he needs to get his payments. So,
I'll take it when we get done.
okay, so I'll give you his number. You can call him directly and coordinate that.
I'll make the
But-
motion.
Oh, wait,
Court,
before-
yes, court.
Andy had something to say, hold on.
And I got
I just wanted to know if Jill heard anything about the
Yes, I got an email from Jay Pittman.
Oh, okay.
He said, will it be open to just your committee members? The clubhouse will be locked as we're closed. You just allow your committee access and would need an employee here and time. I think what we could do is just tell people if they're gonna come, they need to be there, must it be continuously open? It must be. Okay, then we're gonna have to go
Plan
to
B.
Plan B.
Plan B.
Oh,
Fire,
Walking through Darlene's yard?
or fire
Or
station.
or go to July 7th, or,
No, you were
No.
trying for the 7th.
The
Oh, no, we
7th
didn't say
is what?
7th, right.
he can't do.
Oh,
And that was
okay.
also at the golf club.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
So what do you guys want to do?
do you think the
If,
fire station would, could we work on the fire station, and then if we can't do it,
I can call them, I know how to get hold of them.
I mean, then if we can't do that, hopefully the fire station will say yes.
Yes.
If not, we could try at the library.
that's what I was
At the
thinking, did you
library?
ever at the
Let
library?
me try Station 53 first, because they probably don't have anybody there,
And
and we
which-
shouldn't have a
Which
problem.
date are you shooting for, the 14th or
The
the
14th.
7th?
The 14th.
14th.
Staying on the regular day.
Staying on the date, I will call, downtown, if I can get hold of them, I'll call Frank Giddens. We'll find out if we can get in there. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll let Belinda know.
yes, I will let you know.
What about Milano's clubhouse?
It's not public.
Yeah, no. No, it's
You
gated.
can't, you can't get in there.
It's gated.
It's gotta be public.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay, sorry.
I'll get back to you, Belinda. We'll go from there. Okay. All right,
Alrighty, it is 1:02 PM. Is there a motion to adjourn?
sure, I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned at 1:02 PM. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.